What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news right here over on our YouTube page, streaming live today, as well as over on our Facebook page also. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly joining us here today, as we've got ourselves 6 topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today, and make sure that you're all caught up in regards to what's going on in the world of pop culture, nerddom, all that good stuff, guys. So we're definitely here for you guys today. Back to our regular, I don't want to say regular scheduled time, but our new scheduled time, 11 a.m. Central Time. You could certainly expect us here 11 a.m. Central every Sunday, at least for the football season. So certainly look forward to that. And then once the football season is over, we'll probably transition back to our noon Central Time. So definitely go ahead and look forward to that. But guys, while we don't necessarily have a full cast today, we are in fact at least joined by Stuart Branscombe today. What's going on, Stuart? Good to see you, buddy. Are you muted again?
I didn't realize I was muted. Not much. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Been a pretty productive week, honestly, around here. Unfortunately, Indy is not able to join us. He did get called into work last minute. I believe one of his work associates just had a child on the way, so he had to go ahead and fill in for somebody today. So that's why Indy's not here, but he should certainly still be expected him next couple of Sundays, certainly going forward. So definitely look forward to that. But Stuart, it's so good to have you in here, man. I know you've been taking a little bit more off your plate. Work and life has been a little bit crazy for you these days. Everything going well for you this week, man?
Work's going great. It's been that kind of weekend where it's not quite as busy as it was before with Shang-Chi, but like it's definitely slowed down a bit. But luckily, it's like just busy enough so I can constantly give myself something to do, so I'm like never bored at work. And then I always have something to assign to all the other employees, so they're never bored at work. Nice. It's been like that kind of perfect, honestly, for me, work kind of week.
That's pretty good to hear, man. Yeah, you mentioned Shang-Chi. I actually just read a report that Shang-Chi actually had a pretty good second weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it came in just under 40 million. I think like $37 million for this weekend, which is, I think, compared to all the other drop-offs from the box office, is relatively normal. So I think the idea of maybe having a movie released exclusively in theaters continues to show that, maybe in the longer run, you definitely can certainly make some significant money there. Like if you look at Shang-Chi, which is exclusive in theaters, and you look at the new James Wan movie, was it Malignant, I believe, which looks great. Yeah. I saw the trailers for it. It looks terrifying. That movie made like $5 million over the weekend, because it is also available on HBO Max. So I think it does show like the dual releases financially probably is not working. How are you feeling about it though?
Oh, no, I fully agree. And, this is actually a really good transition, because my honorable mention is about how a lot of movies like Venom 2, for example, just changed back their release date to what it originally was because of Shang-Chi, because now they're seeing that movies can still do really good. But I also think that hopefully they know that this movie did really good for, a lot of reasons. And it wasn't just because it didn't go to streaming services as well. It was also there were a lot of other factors about why people were really hyped for this movie. So, I don't think Venom 2 is going to do the same numbers as Shang-Chi at all, but I do think it's going to do decent as long as it only comes to theaters. And hopefully, I definitely wish the other movies that have decided not to push back the release date, I definitely wish those movies the best of luck too.
Yeah, most definitely. It looks like here, Shang-Chi brought in 35.8 million on its second weekend, which is a drop off of about 53%, which I believe they say is it says on par with many of the other Marvel installments before the pandemic wind up hitting. And then, I believe it said Malignant this week only made about $5.57 million. So rough start for some movies, to certainly say the least, but Shang-Chi is certainly holding on strong. If you guys have not had the opportunity to see Shang-Chi, please do yourselves a favor, go out to the theater and certainly check it out if you get the opportunity to do so. Me and the girlfriend this past week, not only did we see Shang-Chi, its release week, but we also went and saw Candyman this week also. Part of us does want to go back and see Shang-Chi for a second time again, but we definitely got a little bit comfortable in the movie theaters this past week, man. If you haven't seen Candyman either, definitely recommended film. I really enjoyed it. And I think what helped us when we watched Candyman was we watched the original And then like literally a day or two later, we went and we watched this particular Candyman film. And it actually, I felt like if we hadn't rewatched the first one, I don't know if it would hit us as much as it certainly did. But I still enjoy it as a film for sure. Have you had the opportunity to check out Candyman, Stuart?
Not yet. I definitely need to because I did really like the original one, and it does look like they have a lot of the same kind of set locations from the original. Plus, I always love it with horror movies. Like you get the same thing with Halloween, and then like I think Nightmare on Elm Street did this too at one point. Just that whole concept of, hey, you know what? The first movie is canon, but just forget about all the other sequels. This is the true sequel to the first movie.
Yeah, it feels very much like that's what it is with Candyman. I know we had a couple of sequels after the original one, but this movie really utilizes the first Candyman as a great sort of lore builder to the bigger story that it certainly wants to tell. And I think it fit in extremely well. Produced by Jordan Peele, I believe also screenwritten by Jordan Peele, Nia DaCosta. And then there was another person also. So some great work I thought they did with the Candyman film. But if you guys have had the opportunity to check out Candyman, certainly go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts or any other movies that you've certainly seen in the theaters as of late. But guys, we've got 6 topics, but you guys know before we get to any of our main topics, we have some honorable mentions that we want to go ahead and bring your guys' way, bring to your attention. So Stuart, was that your honorable mention that you had that you want to talk about already?
Yeah, just the idea of it doing so good, it like literally changed the minds of like a bunch of other movie releases. On top of that, too, one thing that really impressed me about Shang-Chi's like overall like what it's making in the box office is that on top of all that, it hasn't even been released in China, apparently, which
No,
I didn't even know about till recently. And apparently, like one of the factors in which I find freaking hilarious of why they don't want to release it is because the actor at one point during an interview said some not very nice things about growing or about his parents growing up in China, which I thought was really funny. A really petty reason to not put a movie in your theaters.
And I believe I heard too that the Eternals is not going to have a China release either, because I think Chloe Zhao, the director, also had made some mentions of something along those lines 2 years ago, and so I think they caught on to that, and so I think they decided also that the Eternals is not going to have a China release. And I think also you mentioned the idea that some movies are moving back and forth based off of the performance of Shang-Chi. The Eternals now also is getting an exclusive release in theaters as well. They just went ahead and announced that also. So yeah, it's Shang-Chi did some great things, I feel like, for movies when it comes to the movie theaters.
Oh yeah.
They're very happy campers at the theaters for sure. Couple other honorable mentions. Stuart, I'm not sure if you caught this one this week, but the animated Aquaman trilogy is here, guys. We actually wind up getting ourselves a Aquaman King of Atlantis trailer this past week. I guess it's actually a 3-part trilogy coming straight from the mind of James Wan himself. I am kind of curious. I don't believe he's writing this, but I could be absolutely wrong. We did get ourselves the opportunity to see the first trailer for this Aquaman King of Atlantis show. Stuart, have you had the opportunity to check it out by any chance? And what are your initial thoughts on it?
I actually didn't even know the trailer was out.
Oh man, you got to check it out.
Okay, I definitely will right now.
I will say,
I will let you know what I think.
Yeah, I will say, I think. I think for me, well, I didn't mind the trailer. I immediately just thought to myself when I was watching it, yeah, I think if people did not like the initial photo, they may not necessarily be on board with this series. It does feel like a Thundercats Go sort of thing. Maybe even a little Teen Titans Go or whatever they call it. I don't know how serious the cartoon is going to take itself, or if it's just going to be just very over the top. But I mean, it's coming. It says it's coming from the creator of Aquaman or from the director of Aquaman. So I got to think there's maybe some elements of seriousness, and this isn't just all, fun and giggles. I mean, nothing wrong with that, guys. You know what I mean? If that's the type of animated series that you guys are big fans of. But I just remember when we first revealed this initial photo, I remember the displeasure that you and Indy both had. Like, yeah, this is just not going to be for me. Like, not my type of style. What do you think, though? Do you think did you get a chance to look at it real quick?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely looks like it's going for complete all-out goofy comedy. Like there
Mhm.
might be some serious climaxes at the end of each individual episode, but I'm definitely not expecting it to take itself too seriously. Which is, it's just funny to me because I remember when this project was first announced, and they were being very coy about whether or not it was going to be connected to the movies, and the fact that James Wan was producing it. I thought it was like very clear that this was supposed to be like a prequel to the second movie or something,
Oh,
and
I see
I
what you're
thought
saying.
that was like a genius idea. So it's really funny, kind of like looking at this trailer, looking at the images, and seeing like the art style kind of reminds me of a little bit of like Adventure Time meets regular show, and then yeah, it just. And I'm not saying it's going to be bad. I'll definitely like give it a watch when it comes out. Just my hype for it isn't there. So like when it comes out, I'm probably not going to watch it on upon release. I'll watch it like when I get around to it.
Yeah, I think I definitely will be checking it out, but I think I will be going in certainly with lower expectations. I mean, the art style of Adventure Time certainly, I do love the comparison there, but I always hear great things about Adventure Time. So I
Mhm.
guess just basing this Aquaman animated series off of its animation, maybe not necessarily be the best thing to certainly do, but I think when you've got somebody like a Jason Momoa that's doing the Aquaman currently, especially with James Wan tackling the actual live action movie, and you tell me you're going to come out with an Aquaman animated series, there's a part of me that I guess maybe had an assumption or an expectation of what the tone certainly of it could potentially be, but it seems as though they're certainly going in a different direction. So one that has me intrigued, lower in my expectations though, but I'm definitely going to go ahead and give it a shot, especially when it comes to just anything DC animated. Really, I feel like they do a pretty good job with the stuff that they tackle animation wise. So I'll definitely go ahead and give this a shot. But yeah, definitely lowering my expectations a little bit. Speaking of Aquaman, though, Stuart, we actually did get brand new set photos from Aquaman and brand new reveals. This past week, we had James Wan and Patrick Wilson himself showing that prison has not been polite to Aquaman's brother in Orm whatsoever, as we get to see him looking like Tom Hanks from Castaway in here. So Orm is definitely going through some stuff in the upcoming sequel. And then we also wind up getting a reveal from Jason Momoa himself about a brand new Aquaman costume that we wind up having, guys. This feels very stealthy to me, if you ask me. But I kind of dig the color set. I mean, I feel like James Wan has mentioned the idea that they do want to definitely tackle more horror elements this time around when it comes to Aquaman 2. So if you're trying to add some hints of humor in here, or horror in here, I should say, going a little bit darker with the Aquaman costume, not a bad idea, Stuart. But what do you think about this from his new suit? I'm sure we'll see his classic one in here for sure in the movie, but we're at least getting an additional suit from him this time around. What do you think of it, Stuart?
Oh, I definitely like this new suit. I just, yeah, like I really hope it's not the final suit that we see at the end of the movie. I do hope that they
Mm.
kind of go back to the more colorful design that they had in the previous film. But I mean, for what it is, I think it looks really cool. And yeah, I definitely hope that's what it's used for. Is like maybe for a more like stealthy mission for Aquaman.
That would be pretty cool. Maybe he's got to go into the trench and he's got to be all incognito or something again. Who knows?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but but yeah, guys. So yeah, two new photos wind up emerging from Aquaman 2 as it is in the process of currently filming. And then last but not least, the last honorable mention for you guys I wanted to bring up. If you guys were big Chucky fans, we did get ourselves a brand new poster this past week, a classic coming of rage story. Chucky set to go ahead and premiere not only on USA but Sci-Fi as well, October 12th, ladies and gentlemen. So go ahead and mark your calendars if you've been a big part of the franchise. I know there are a couple of horror fans that absolutely love them some Chucky over the years. Some iterations hit, some of them miss, but the television series will be here before you know it. So yeah, going to be showing on USA and Sci-Fi October 12th. Any interest in this, Stuart, at all?
Ah man, I gotta be honest. When it comes to Chucky, I love the first movie,
Yeah, me too.
but I've just never been hooked on any of the sequels. Really, I've just mostly because, like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I didn't find Chucky as funny as other people. Like, most of the jokes in those movies don't really land for me as much as they did with others. Uh, so I'm probably not super excited for this, if I'm being honest. It's just, I mean, I'm happy it exists, and I hope it's good, but I don't know if it's like something I'm going to be checking out.
Yeah, I myself I do enjoy the first and even the second Chucky. I was a big fan of the second one also. But after that I kind of fell off. Jennifer Tilly, I believe is her name. I believe she's going to be in the show also, The Bride of Chucky, if I'm not mistaken. I did miss that particular film, but I got a couple friends that absolutely love Chucky, so I'm hoping that this is a series that's sort of right up their alley. But yeah, I probably won't be checking it out, but I hope it's rather successful because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the actual creator and the original story creator for the first Chucky, or just the entire Chucky franchise, is actually helming this television series also. So if you guys are, if you're a big sucker for continuity and people that know the content coming back and writing and directing the show itself, you're in good hands. So hopefully it's a great one. But other than that, guys, that's going to do it for our honorable mentions today. So Stuart, without further ado, man, are you ready to go ahead and tackle our main topics for the day?
Always.
All right, let's go ahead and do this, man. Our first topic, right out of the gate, you guys saw it nice and fresh on our thumbnail this morning. The Matrix Resurrections, or The Matrix 4, is almost here, ladies and gentlemen. We wind up getting ourselves a brand new trailer this past week, getting the opportunity to see Neo once again in the Matrix. We've got some questions, guys. We've got a bunch of questions. Got the opportunity to finally see the trailer, and so I'm not sure if you guys have had the opportunity to. If you haven't, please do yourselves a favor and go ahead and certainly check it out. But Stuart, this makes me want to go back down Matrix memory lane, man. I was actually watching the trailer with the girlfriend yesterday, and she actually told me something that I did not expect to hear, Stuart. She said, "I've only seen the first Matrix." And I'm like, that's it? I mean, granted, that's probably the only one you probably need to see. It's the best one out of all of them. But she has not seen Matrix 2 or 3, and we're sitting here watching this trailer, and I'm thinking to myself, should I turn this trailer off right now? I don't even know. She really probably has no idea what is going on in this trailer. But I will say this, it brings me joy because now I get to go on a Matrix marathon before this movie winds up hitting. But I was so pumped to finally see this trailer, man. I truly am getting an opportunity to see Keanu Reeves again, looking like John Wick in the Matrix. I'm here for it, man. I'm absolutely here for it. What did you think about it, Stuart, when you first had the opportunity to check out the trailer for The Matrix?
I absolutely loved it. I love the kind of premise that they seem to be going with, especially like when you looked at some of the teasers that were going on their website, where you would have kind of like almost like propaganda in a way, because you had Neil Patrick Harris telling everyone to ignore the red pill, the Matrix isn't real type of a thing. So it makes me kind of wonder if like maybe in this rebooted Matrix, and I refer to the actual Matrix itself being rebooted after the events of the third movie, like they literally rebooted the computer for it. So I'm wondering if in this version, the Matrix is slightly more known to like just people in general. And so it becomes like a bigger challenge for agents and just other programs to make sure that the Matrix, like the idea of the Matrix, stays hidden from people. And so it looks like with Neil Patrick Harris, like he plays like a major Matrix denier essentially. And seeing him as a therapist in this, I thought was pretty interesting. So I feel like he's going to play a huge role as a program, but of course he's going to come off in the beginning as a friend of Neo's, but then of course then it's going to get revealed he's the villain. That's my prediction on how it's all going to go down. But yeah, if your girlfriend hasn't seen the sequels yet, I definitely recommend watching 2 and 3 the same day, because something I've kind of realized about the Matrix sequels and why I think a lot of people don't like them is because they came out a year apart from each other, but they really do feel like they're meant to be watched back to back. Like they feel like one really big 4-hour movie rather than 2-hour movies.
Yeah, no, I definitely will agree with that, because Revelations definitely, I felt like that movie had so much action. It felt like one gigantic climactic act for a film. So I definitely see what you're saying there in regards to it. Yeah, my biggest worry is having to revisit number 2, because that usually tends to make my brain hurt a lot. But you're right. I think the back-to-back concept of checking out the Matrix numbers 2 and 3 might actually work out relatively well. So we might actually end up doing that. She said she doesn't want to rewatch the first Matrix because she's seen it a bajillion times, but a part of me really wants to go back and rewatch the first one again, just because it's been so long. But yeah, I love your theory in regards to that. I mean, it's not like we haven't heard in the original trilogy the idea and the concept of the Matrix being rebooted several different times, right? I mean, we saw in Matrix 2 when Neo walks through the door, he finds the person truly in charge of all the things, right? With all the screens, seeing all the different iterations of Neo, all the same moments that have certainly occurred back to back, sort of thing. So there definitely have been several different versions of the Matrix over the years, and it feels very much like this is just sort of a new one. The idea that you're right, maybe it is kind of rebooted. The fact that we've got Yahya Mateen from Candyman being in here. He's going to be playing actually a young Morpheus, which he actually confirmed for himself on his IG page. He was going to be playing a younger version of Morpheus. So it's interesting to see a younger version of Morpheus, but yet an older version of Neo that's clearly been through all of this before. I do love the idea of you saying that maybe they're trying to maybe it's a little bit harder this time around to convince people that the Matrix isn't real, sort of thing. And I do wonder if it has anything to do with maybe they've just awoken up so many people in the previous iteration that maybe there are some people that are still dealing with, you know, something similar to what Neo is, right? Like remembering things or having these very vivid dreams that there's other things out there. So maybe there's like a more plethora of people that they have to worry about believing in that concept this time around. I don't know. I find it super interesting. Like, I really don't know what the Wachowskis plan on doing with this movie. I didn't know, like, where do you go after the trilogy? But it seems like they might have something on their hands. It doesn't feel like it's a complete reboot of the first Matrix, but it wouldn't surprise me either if this movie does have moments that are very similar to the first Matrix, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. And last thing that I find very interesting about it, I'm very curious if there's actually going to be a secret cameo in the movie because of this, or if maybe something's being set up for one of the sequels. But recently, Lawrence Fishburne was asked why he isn't going to appear in this movie, and I had thought that it was just he didn't really have interest in it. But it turned out no, he said that there is actually like a reason he's not in this movie, and you're going to have to watch it to find out. So yeah, that's I think what makes me extremely curious, and it also makes me think that he is going to be in it just for like a small cameo, but it's going to be like to set up something really big for like maybe an upcoming sequel after this.
Like, I wonder very much if his character recalls everything that happened previously, but like he's just waking up again and maybe like a new, younger version of himself or something. But maybe he keeps his all his memories. Who knows? If there's a reason for Lawrence not being in here, I definitely would love to see it. But I think they did a great job. If you're going to recast anybody to play Morpheus, I think Yahya is a great choice, to certainly say the least. I actually, one of my favorite scenes in this trailer, though, is seeing Neo and Trinity sort of reunited. The idea that she kind of doesn't recall who he is, right? Asking him like, have we met before, sort of thing. But then, of course, in the trailer, seeing them team up, going on the run, whatever the case may be. I love the shot of Trinity when she's yelling and it like the screen just vibrates and you get like 5 or 4 different like little clones of her out of thing. It looks so cool, man. I absolutely love the way that the trailer was shot. It looks incredible.
Yeah, it does. And it's also, okay, so one thing I also love about it was hearing what Neil Patrick Harris had to say before the trailer came out, and now seeing the trailer, I totally get what he means. He was mentioning how like a lot of the movie was filmed using natural lighting, and you can definitely see that in the trailer, because like the lighting in the trailer, especially for the exterior shots, looks absolutely fantastic to me. So that's like another aspect of the movie I'm looking forward to as well. I'm also just kind of curious though. So I get why the machines would want to keep Neo alive, because every time Neo dies, then a new version of Neo is born, as they kind of like explained in the second movie. So I feel like with Neo, it makes sense the machines would keep him alive, just so they can constantly keep their eye on him. They can constantly like it looks like they're keeping him sedated so he doesn't remember anything. But why Trinity though? So that's like my big question is, why did they bring her back, and what's her overall role going to be in the movie?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point, especially considering the connection between Neo and Trinity. Like, I feel like if there is anything that can bring Neo back to reality, if you will, and remembering half the shit that he's been through in its life. It's the idea of Trinity certainly still kind of being around, some unfinished business, if you will. Quick shout out to Gabriel for certainly coming through today. Thank you very much, man, for being in there in the chat. And of course, Indy winds up popping up in here also, man. Have a good day at work, brother. Hopefully it goes well for you. But yeah, they did go ahead and post some photos that we went ahead and highlighted. Keanu Reeves looking fantastic, ready to go ahead and get his fighting on. I agree. I love the way that the trailer was shot. Special effects looks great. It is one of those things that when it comes to the Matrix, you always kind of wonder, technologically wise, special effects wise, what are they going to certainly be doing differently? But yeah, it definitely still has the feel of the Matrix to it. There was a great shot in the trailer where someone's leaping over a police car in slow motion. I believe it's also this girl too. I think she like jumps off of a rooftop, lands on the edge or the corner of another building, and then sort of jumps off, sort of thing. Seeing the opportunity for Neo to like push the missile out of the way from the plane, from the helicopter and stuff, going full Jean Grey on these people. I absolutely loved what I saw in this trailer. I have no idea what's going on, but I can tell you what, man, I didn't know that I needed another Matrix movie in my life until I saw this trailer, and I'm ready for it, Stuart. I'm absolutely ready for it.
Yep, 110% agree there.
But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. If you've had the opportunity to check out the Matrix Resurrections, what are some of the things that are certainly jumping out at you that really got you hyped for this upcoming movie? Do you have any particular theories or speculations as to what's certainly going on, why we're even getting ourselves a fourth Matrix? I will say this, everything looks great. Just because the trailer looks fire doesn't necessarily mean that the story is going to be there. When it comes to the Wachowskis, they definitely do have some movies that I'm huge fans of. Like I think Speed Racer personally is an underrated film. I really enjoyed it for certainly what it was, and of course I love what they did when it comes to the Matrix stuff. But I think they had a couple other misses, like Cloud Atlas, I believe, with I think it was Halle Berry and Tom Hanks, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like there was maybe one or two other ones too that maybe didn't go over so well. So maybe the fact that the Wachowskis are coming back to their nitty gritty, like what made them, maybe they have a better handling on that. And I just think, I think based off of just their career trajectory, I don't necessarily know if you come back to the Matrix unless you have a really good story to tell, right? Like I think the fact that you even got Yahya, Keanu, Carrie to certainly come back and reprise their roles. I don't know if they would have picked. I don't know if they would have come back if the script was weak. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping that means good things are certainly ahead for this movie.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it does. I think if I had to assume why, because it's only one of the directors coming back for this one. It's only Lana Wachowski,
Yep.
And I think the reason she wanted to come back, I feel like Warner Brothers was going to be making this movie with or without them, and so I feel like it's just one of those things where she knew it would be better if she was like behind the camera and she could be in charge of how the production actually went down. So that's kind of like my thought on it. It's like not necessarily that they wanted to do a Matrix 4, but it's like it was going to happen with or without them. So it's like, yeah, I'll definitely be on board to make sure, sticks, to make sure it still feels like it's still part of our vision and everything like that. So, that's what I think happened, but I also could be entirely wrong. Maybe it was actually a passion project for her, like from the beginning, but I could be wrong.
This actually comes to us from IndieWire.com, just talking about the trailer a little bit. And just the behind the scenes aspect of it. It does say that plot details have been hush-hush so far, but Keanu Reeves recently described the film as a beautiful script that is a love story. It's inspiring, the actor said. It's another version of a kind of call to wake up, and it has some great action, is what he wind up saying. When asked by the host if The Matrix 4 would end up being a prequel portraying the events from before the original, Keanu Reeves only provided this tease, no going into the past. So yeah, definitely not a prequel, definitely taking place after that particular trilogy. But it makes, I do love the idea that he says it's a beautiful script that is pretty much a love story. It's inspiring. The power of love, Stuart, to go ahead and pull you back and help you remember all your everything that happened in your life when it comes to the Matrix prior. Maybe the Neo and Trinity are in fact the key once again. So it should be good stuff, man. I just talking about it got me pumped to go ahead and rewatch the trilogy one more time. So maybe that'll be my plans this weekend. again after the after football. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts once again. What do you guys think about the Matrix 4 or the Matrix Resurrections trailer? Again, let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, we will go ahead and transition over to our next topic, which is in fact DC related, guys. This is actually our only DC topic that we have today. After this, it's just a barrage of Marvel news coming your guys' way. So let's go ahead and get this DC topic out of the way. Not that I'm rushing to not talk about Batgirl. I'm always here to certainly talk about Batgirl because I'm really excited for this upcoming project. But we know that when it comes to Batgirl, we have already cast Leslie Grace. I say we like I had anything to do with it, but they've already casted Batgirl as Leslie Grace. Her first opportunity in front of the camera was in fact In the Heights over on HBO Max, if you guys have not had the opportunity to check out that musical. But ever since then, since the reveal, we haven't really gotten too much information. I believe outside of the fact that it's probably going to come down to J.K. Simmons as Commissioner Gordon, as her father in this upcoming movie. But outside of that, we really haven't heard too much, especially from Leslie Grace herself. But this week, guys, Entertainment Tonight or Entertainment Weekly had the opportunity to actually sit down with Leslie Grace and kind of pick her brain a little bit and see like what aspects of being part of the Batgirl project really excites her, especially considering the fact that while she is very well known for her musical talent, this is really only going to be her second project when it comes to performance and acting and things like that. So very interesting opportunity for them to go ahead and kind of pick her brain a little bit. But I wanted to go ahead and just talk with you guys about some of the things that Leslie Grace wind up bringing up herself. So Stuart, let's go ahead and dive into this story, man. Let me see exactly where this is from. It says ET, so I'm assuming this is Entertainment Tonight online. It says Leslie Grace talks Batgirl and getting rough and tough to play Barbara Gordon. And it's actually an exclusive report by Entertainment Tonight. Let's see here. It says Leslie Grace went from triple threat actress, singer, dancer to quadruple threat when she added superhero to her CV. After breaking out in The Heights, which marked the newcomer's first acting role, Grace booked the role of Batgirl in her new standalone movie. While visiting the set of Grace's music video for her new song, E.T. welcomed Barbara Gordon herself into the DC universe. She says, "I'm just excited to prove some new things to myself, to try new things and shatter any limitations that I might have in my own brain. I feel so blessed to be able to do the things that I do every day that are really my passions, and also be able to do it with people that are just excellent." It says Batgirl won't premiere on HBO Max until next year, but Grace revealed how she's found out she was cast in the title role, talking about getting rough and tough to play Barbara and reacting to reports that J.K. Simmons will reprise his role as her on-screen dad. So E.T. asks, says, "I want to formally congratulate you. You are Batgirl. How did you find out that you got this incredible role? How did you react?" So she says, it was a crazy shock. I mean, obviously I had been auditioning. It was a whole process, but it was just a little mind-bending. It's still mind-bending to think about, but we're about to embark on this insane journey. But I found out via Zoom because of the COVID world. The directors in the studio were on, and they kind of tried to make it a surprise. They tried to make me make it look like it was a final test. And so they sent me an email saying, "I'm Batgirl," and had me read it. And I was just like, I'm not reading that. I don't know what's happening right now. So she said, "So they made you think that you were auditioning again?" And she says, "Yeah, I thought it was a follow-up test. I had self-taped. I had a read. I had a chemistry read, and I thought we were gonna do another read, like like in the moment read. And they just had me read that line. It was insane. It was beautiful. It's a blessing. I'm so excited about the character. I'm excited to nerd out about all the comics. I've already been doing so much research on it, and I'm excited to learn how to kick some butt too, because your girl, she's gonna get rough and tough to be Miss Barbara Gordon. So I cannot wait." And she says, "So what will surprise fans most on your take on Batgirl?" And I did love this. She says, "This is only my second role, but I'm learning from my colleagues and other friends of mine that put a little bit of yourself into each character. And just in a bit of research that I've been leading into pre-production, I've learned a lot of things about Barbara that are very in line with me. She's someone who's been underestimated by her own dad, and being the youngest, sometimes you're insulated from all the tough stuff of life. And so she's eager to prove herself, and to everybody else that there's some things that believe that there's some things that she can't handle. So this journey is definitely going to show me a lot of that. I feel like I'm on an endless journey of proving myself, what barriers I can break, what limits I can break for myself. And I'm excited to put a little bit of that eagerness and drive and like almost a little bit of stubbornness into Barbara's character. So Stuart, I love this breakdown with Leslie Grace. It does two things for me. One, I feel like every actor always says, hey, I'm doing my research. But I think the fact that Leslie Grace is able to very much put herself in Barbara Gordon's shoes, clearly learning about the Barbara Gordon character enough to see exactly how relatable it is. I think that kind of stuff really goes a long way in regards to bringing out some of your best performances, right? Like if you can find something within those characters to attach yourself to that feels like you, I think if anything, that'll help Leslie Grace really bring Barbara Gordon character to life, because then at that point, it doesn't necessarily feel like she's portraying a character, more or less like she's actually portraying herself. And just based off of everything that she's clearly been through in life, to be able to have people to underestimate her and stuff, it is pretty crazy how much of a parallel her life does sort of resemble that of probably saying here. The other thing that really jumps out to me too, if there are anybody that's currently worried about, oh, well, maybe she doesn't have a lot of acting experience and things like that. I think the fact that, one, she's already on a high rise when it comes to just her stardom. I mean, the fact that she is a dancer, a singer, she's already popular in like one aspect of media when it comes to music. The fact that she was a great spot in the Heights also, I think, also helps. But I think the fact that she has gone through auditions, it's not like they just picked her off the street and were like, we like you, we want you as Barbara Gordon. I think the fact that she points out that they had like 3 or 4 different auditions and chemistry tests and stuff that she had to go through makes me think that when it comes to casting, they probably did a pretty thorough job in regards to finding themselves a Barbara Gordon and Batgirl, especially based off of the popularity of the character and what this means for the DCEU certainly going forward, because you want to make sure that you land that casting, you know what I mean? So for me, this just gives me confidence that Leslie Grace knows what she's doing, that she's certainly more than capable, and there's something very inspiring to see somebody that wants to prove other people wrong, that wants to not only do that but prove herself wrong, right? Kind of embrace the newness that kind of comes, or all the challenges that kind of come with new opportunities and things like that, and proving to yourself that you're more than capable of doing it. And I think that's really inspiring for a lot of people, and I do think that that'll certainly give Leslie Grace the passion that I think she needs to certainly tackle Barbara Gordon this particular way. So I'm really interested to see how she's going to bring her to life. But you hear this stuff, Stuart, also in regards to Leslie Grace talking about not only auditions but how it relates to her, the research that she's doing. What is this? How does this all sound to you when you hear her talk about it?
Sounds absolutely fantastic. I love the enthusiasm that she seemed to have in the interview. I mean, obviously it was a text interview, so we don't know like exactly what her tone was when she was talking, but you kind of get an idea of what her overall like attitude towards the role is, and it sounds very positive. It sounds like she knows exactly what kind of role she's going to be in, and it sounds like she's taking it extremely seriously, making sure that she is prepared for such a big role such as Batgirl. So I absolutely love that. Also, something that I know that she brought up, about kind of being the underdog, being like, this is her second really big role that she's ever done. to me, that just kind of gives me more reasons to be excited about this, because when you see a mainstream film like Batgirl and they're casting someone who hasn't really done that much in terms of like big in terms of big Hollywood films, usually that's a good sign that this person is really good, because then you got to think about the competition that they've had, because I'm sure it's safe to say that she probably had to go against a lot of other
A
people with
lot.
way more experience than her.
Yeah.
But despite all of that, Warner Brothers said, no, she's the one that we want as our new Batgirl. So clearly it shows that she has something that's there that we're all going to be seeing when it comes to the big screen. And we also know it means that she wasn't just hired because she was in a couple of other movies that sold really well. We know that, they're definitely taking a risk with her. And if they're doing that, there's got to be a good reason behind it. So, I definitely think that casting her was there's definitely going to be a good reason behind it. I'm sure we're all going to see it when she actually puts on the suit and we see her as Batgirl. And then it's funny because one thing that you mentioned earlier too was how like every actor, I feel like when they get signed up for a specific superhero role, you always hear them kind of saying, "Oh yeah, I did plenty of research on my character to get ready for this." But for her, I like how she gives a very specific example
Exactly.
of after saying that she did a lot of research for her character, and even before that, it did sound like she was at the very least familiar with the character. Just everything about this interview with her really gets me excited. Plus, not to mention having already seen her in The Heights, I definitely think she looks perfect for the role in terms of like, physique and overall, like what if they want to go with high school age or college age, I feel like she could pull either off just fine. And just as an actor, I thought she did incredibly well in that movie. So I think everything about her as Barbara Gordon, I think it's going to work out really well.
Yeah, I'm really thinking so too. At least I'm really hoping that it certainly will. And I just feel like right now, I think for me too, just because of the fact that I'm watching Titan season 3, and we do have a focus on Barbara Gordon in there this season. Being able to see more Barbara Gordon, what she's certainly capable of, just sort of as a character, not even necessarily as Batgirl, I think is making me hungry for like more Batgirl stuff at this particular point in time. So I'm eating it up anytime Leslie Grace wants to go ahead and talk about this particular character, because I'm loving what Savannah Welsh is doing over in Titan season 3 this year. The relationship between her and Dick Grayson, I think, is absolutely perfect. So there is a ton of dynamics when it comes to the movie itself that I really would like to see happen. Like, I don't think we get the opportunity to see Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon on screen very often in any sort of live action iterations that we've seen before. Like, I'm trying to think, like, we got a Commissioner Gordon in the Justice League movie. We got a Batgirl in the previous Batman films, but I don't recall that Barbara Gordon or Commissioner Gordon ever connecting or talking to one another, sort of thing. So, and I think in the Titans one, while we've got Barbara Gordon, Commissioner Gordon, I believe, is dead at that point in time, right? So the idea of just seeing a father and daughter on screen together, J.K. Simmons possibly with Leslie Grace, that's actually a combination and just a really a storyline, and just seeing like family ties wise, something that hasn't really been explored too much, like just what their relationship is like. And I really want to see that brought to the big screen. I truly do, because I can see somebody like Commissioner Gordon being very protective of his daughter, not wanting her to kind of go down that path of vigilanteism sort of thing, based off of what the streets of Gotham are certainly like. So I do think there's an aspect to this movie that has not been explored when it comes to TV that really does have me excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think more than that, I'm also just kind of looking forward to the idea with it being a solo movie. They don't have to rely too much on having Batman be the one to establish her as a character, because I feel like they can easily pick this movie up anywhere they want to. Like, if they want it to be an origin, it can, but also if they really want to, they could just kind of skip the whole origin part of it and just go straight into her being a Batgirl. Maybe even just maybe reference how she became Batgirl because she was inspired by Batman. But yeah, I think what's cool is that they don't necessarily have to worry too much about the origin part, which means you don't have to worry too much about, making sure that Batman has his screen time, or making sure that Batman you don't have to make the message clear that Batman was what inspired her to become Batgirl or anything like that. So that's one of the big things I'm looking forward to, seeing how they explore her origins, and especially with. Not saying that Ben Affleck won't be in the movie, but I'm just saying it's kind of unlikely, to my opinion, that we're going to be seeing or that we're going to see Ben Affleck as Batman in this movie. So I'm really curious how they're going to kind of put her as Batgirl without utilizing Batman too much.
I wonder if I would it wouldn't surprise me if we do get the Batman name drop on occasion. I mean, who knows? Maybe we don't get Ben Affleck as Batman, but maybe we get him as a brief cameo as Bruce. In a quick shot or something like that. I would be completely open to that. I was thinking to myself, man, it would be great to have Dick Grayson pop up in here, but I believe, according to Zack Snyder, I believe the Robin costume that we saw in the Batcave was actually Dick Grayson's, if I'm not mistaken. I think for a while we were under the belief it was Jason Todd, but I do believe in the DCEU it's Dick Grayson, which is unfortunate because I really would love to see him pop back up in here.
Well, Zack Snyder says it was Dick Grayson, but, with Warner Brothers having now full control over the DCEU, I feel like that's something they're going to kind of retcon out of the DCEU later and just be like, no, it was Jason Todd the whole time, because there was never anything in the movie itself to imply that it had to be Dick Grayson. Yeah, it was a Robin statue, so it literally could have been any Robin.
That's a good point. Yeah, he never did name drop Grayson, so you might be right. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. What do you think about the idea of Leslie Grace as Batgirl? You hear the idea that not only is she doing her research, but clearly finding connective tissues to Barbara Gordon's character that's very much relatable to her. Do you think that's certainly going to benefit her in the long run? Definitely go ahead and let me know your guys' thoughts, whether that be anticipation for this movie, certain things that you would certainly like to see. Go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comments section box below after this video airs, guys. All right, Stuart, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and transition into the world of Marvel, ladies and gentlemen. This week was a big week for Marvel, to say the least. We've got a couple of stories that we're going to be tackling, 4 Marvel stories that we're going to go ahead and tackle. But off the bat, the most important one easily comes with the idea that this past week, guys, when it comes to the MCU and their movie slate, it has officially expanded. That's right, guys. We've got 4 new mystery titles that Marvel Studios has officially released for us when it comes to the year of 2024. We already have a bunch of movies on the docket. In fact, let me go ahead and pull this up for you, Stuart. This is from Phase Zero. Actually, it's I believe it's from the same gentleman that does all the interviews over at comicbook.com. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he put together this fantastic graphic here for Marvel Studios' release schedule, not only for 2021, but all the way to 2024. So as of right now, this year, we've got The Eternals and Spider-Man No Way Home still set to drop. 2022, we've got 4 Marvel movies, Doctor Strange 2 in March, Thor Love and Thunder in May, Wakanda Forever in July, and then the Marvels in November next year. So 4 Marvel movies in 2022. When it comes to 2023, we've got ourselves a couple other movies. We've got Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, Quantumania in February of 23, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 in May of 2023, and then we've got 3 other already untitled Marvel movies for 2023 in July, October, and November. So 4 movies in 22, 5 movies in 2023, and we're going back to 4 movies in 2024. We've got them for February 16th, May 3rd, July 26th, and November. So 2 big blockbuster dates have in fact been added, but this is from comicbook.com. It says it's looking like 4 Marvel movies per year may be the new norm. Friday afternoon, Walt Disney Studios unveiled its updated theatrical slate through 2024, and included on it are 4 different Marvel dates staggered throughout the year. The first date comes in February 16th, 2 summer blockbuster dates for May 3rd and July 26th, and then the final date being the first part of November on November 8th. It says as of now, Marvel Studios currently has 7 save dates between 2023 and 2024 with no titles at this point. It says at this point, though, there are 3 officially announced Marvel projects without release dates. We've got the Fantastic Four movie, we've got Blade, and we've got Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool 3. And then, of course, they just also added Captain America 4 to that as well. So 4 movies by Marvel that have not been given a release date yet. But we clearly have in total, 7 movies that have not officially been titled as of right now, Stuart. So the big question comes, what are these movies going to be, Stuart? What are these movies going to be? So I guess this should be our time where we throw a bunch of speculation out there, huh?
Yes.
So guys, listen, if you guys have any speculation as to what movies you think will officially be released and when, please go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section. But Stuart, let's go ahead and tackle this, man. They've already announced Fantastic Four, Blade, Deadpool, and Captain America 4. Do you think any of these movies are on this list? And if so, where do you think they'll be located at?
I'm going to assume that Blade will probably be the first of them since that got announced first. So I'm going to give that to the July spot. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. It would be dumb to give it to July when you have an October date saved. So yeah, give Blade to October. October 6th.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah,
okay,
October 6th of 2023. Yeah. And then give Fantastic Four July 28th of 2023. That's yeah. And then Deadpool, I'm going to go with November of 2023. That was the 3 of them. What was the 4th one again? Oh, right. Captain America 4. I'll give that to February of 2024. So I think with Deadpool and Captain America 4, those 2 also could be switched. So it's going to be like, those are going to be the last 2 is my prediction. As for the 3 upcoming ones, actually, do you want to give your thoughts on where you think those 4 will be first?
Those 4, let's see here. Fantastic Four, I'm probably going to go. I feel like this is probably way far out, but I'm going to do it anyway, man. I'm going to go July 26th. 2024. I feel like maybe that's a Fantastic Four date. That feels like a Fantastic Four date to me. I'm actually going to take my Captain America 4 and I'm going to put that to May 3rd also. I think that's another great big blockbuster one. Blade, I am debating on where I want to put Blade at. Blade for me, that's I definitely either an October or a November release date. I'm going to give November 8th, 2024, probably to Deadpool 4 or Deadpool 3. I'll give that to Deadpool 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give Blade to November 10th, 2023. So I have not filled the July 2003 date. I have not filled the October 6th, 2023 date, and I have not filled the February 16th, 2024 date. I'm just debating as to I want to say maybe Young Avengers might be in there somewhere. If I had to guess, maybe a Young Avengers would be maybe like that July 23rd. Again, that's just me speculating that we'll even get ourselves a Young Avengers movie. I'm trying to figure out what to put in those other 2 spots. Does anything need a sequel, Stuart? Anything that we're missing that needs a sequel currently?
I guess technically a couple. No, wait, no, never mind. I was gonna say like the Marvel, a couple of the Marvel shows feel like they've set up something to pay off in one of the movies. But yeah, I'll get to what I think the payoff's gonna be once you're done.
Yeah, I think maybe there's probably a you know what? I might take that back. I am wondering if there's a Secret Wars in here somewhere. I am wondering if there's a Secret Wars on this docket.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, I am wondering
isn't Secret Wars going to be a TV show though with Nick Fury?
I think it's Secret Invasion.
Oh, Invasion. Sorry, my bad.
Secret Invasion. Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm wondering if a Secret Wars is on this docket at all, right? Because we talked about the idea of the Russo brothers potentially wanting to maybe come back. Now, whether or not that's going to be greenlit, that I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking if it is a Secret Wars, it might be that May 3rd or July 26th, 2024. But I'm trying to think also where could, I think, yeah, I think maybe there's a Secret Wars and a Fantastic Four, either that May or July 2024 date. It's in there somewhere, Stuart. I think. What's on your brain? What you got?
So I feel like for the first one, it's going to either be X-Men or a solo mutant film. I feel like by the time we get to 2024, that's when we're going to start wanting to, that's when Marvel's going to start wanting to have like the actual mutants be introduced into the MCU. So I feel like that's going to happen at some point. I also think that
I'll put that
we're
on
going to
February. I'll put that on February.
all right, February, cool. I also think that we're going to be getting it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be either the Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers movie. I feel like what they've kind of started doing during the Marvel TV shows and even during Black Widow is I feel like they're starting to put up starting to build up the idea of like an evil Avengers team. And I feel like that's something that we're going to see pay off either in a solo movie or in like an Avengers versus the Dark Avengers or Avengers versus the Thunderbolts. However, whichever direction they decide they want to go with that. Oh God, I thought I had something for the last one. I guess for the last one, if I had to guess, I feel like it could just kind of end up being like a sequel to, one of the other films that we've already, kind of seen established. So like maybe if I had to kind of just throw one out there, maybe another Thor movie, like a Thor 5. Nah, that seems way too soon, actually, now that I think about it.
I was wondering, like, I was looking at this Eternals November 5th, 2021. I'm thinking, like, is there Eternals 2 for that very last date, November 8th of 2024? That's a 3-year gap, right? I feel like that's a good amount of time for a sequel.
Yeah, it could be that too. But yeah, like the two that I'm definitely fully confident on, I'm sure we're gonna get like any kind of mutant, even if it's just like even if it's not like full on X-Men, I'm sure we're gonna get some like mutants in one of the upcoming movies. So it'll either be X-Men or it'll be a solo mutant movie. And then for sure, I definitely think we're gonna be getting Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts. I don't think it's gonna be Young Avengers, and the reason is I'm pretty sure because a lot of that seems to be getting set up on Disney Plus. I feel like Young Avengers is going to be, if it's a movie or a TV show, I feel like it's going to be on Disney Plus regardless.
Like an exclusive Disney Plus movie type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like a lot of it is being set up through Disney Plus.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely have to wait and see. But yeah, those are some great choices, man. Those are some great choices. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. I don't even know, is this all part of the same phase? Like, is Marvel even doing that anymore? Are these Phase 4 movies? Are these technically like Phase 5 movies? I'm kind of curious. But hopefully we'll get some announcements relatively soon. I mean, maybe after this year, after we knock out the Eternals and Spider-Man, maybe they'll actually announce what some of these upcoming movies are certainly going to be. But I do like it. I do think that there is an X-Men movie on here somewhere. If I had to guess, I would probably go February. I am curious. I mean, who knows? It could be like a summer blockbuster because of the fact that it is an X-Men movie. So I do like that idea. I love the idea of Fantastic Four being up there. I even like the idea of a Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers in there somewhere. But yeah, we'll see, guys. There's definitely a ton of movies that are certainly going to be happening out there. I am kind of curious to know where you guys think some of these movies might actually be placed when it comes to release schedule. If anything, maybe we'll do a side video in regards to this with our actual predictions on where they're going to go ahead and actually land. But we'll keep you guys posted. Once we actually get ourselves title announcements, we'll go ahead and certainly bring you guys to all that news. But again, if you had to speculate as to which Marvel movies will be encompassing these 7 untitled movies as of right now, where would you certainly go ahead and place those at? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And Stuart, this just continues to show me that, Marvel clearly has a plan for everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. All that said, though, I am still 100% confident with my Blade prediction. I think that's the one I'm pretty sure is going to go for the October 6th release.
Why October instead of November? You have any
Huh? Oh,
preference?
just because it's closer to Halloween.
Halloween.
I feel like, yeah. I just, October, month of Halloween. So I feel like if you're going to have a movie about vampires, that's when you want to do it. So I'm going with October 6th, 2023 is going to be Blade.
I like it. I like it. We have seen some movement, right? I believe they found a writer and a director already for Blade. So there has been some movement happening in regards to that movie. So the idea of it coming in 2 years doesn't feel too far fetched. Doesn't feel too far fetched. But yeah, guys, let us know what you've thought so far in regards to the upcoming Marvel slate and what movies you would certainly like to see pop up on the docket.
Just don't make the vampire sparkle in the sunshine.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, we will transition over to another Marvel topic. This one in the regards of the Marvel television. There was a time once, Stuart, before Disney Plus, when Marvel had no problem separating their characters, sending them off to several different, broadcast stations, cable networks, streaming services, right? There was a time when Marvel just wanted to create content with the plethora of characters that they certainly had. And then the MCU wind up getting huge. And then all of a sudden, Kevin Feige gets pushed into another position over at the MCU where he's truly in charge of everything sort of Marvel entertainment wise. And when this wound up happening, Stuart, those days of Marvel television shows were officially over. I don't remember if you remember the plethora of cancellations that kind of came down. Hellstrom just barely made the cancellation. Like they literally got into filming season 1, canceled. Gabriel Luna, who was supposed to be in a Ghost Rider series, everybody was excited for, canceled. Cloak and Dagger entering season 3 or 4, canceled. The Runaways on Hulu, that a lot of people were big fans of, canceled, right? The Netflix Marvel shows canceled. Kevin Feige went crazy when it comes to Marvel television, just cutting everything off. Well,
to be fair,
the
Netflix ones, that wasn't actually his decision. That was actually made by Netflix themselves.
Okay, well, I'll give that one. Everything else is Kevin Feige's fault.
Yeah.
But Gifted, canceled. The list goes on and on, guys. So I do miss those days. But this past week, one show that unfortunately never got the opportunity to air was a show, and I think we might have talked about it here on A Plus Hero Report, that was in early development, in stages of its pre-production, and that was, in fact, New Warriors. I don't know if people actually recall this series actually getting picked up by Freeform at one particular point in time. But talk about extremely bad timing for the New Warriors show that unfortunately also wound up getting canceled because of the fact of all the changes that were certainly happening over at the MCU. Well, this past week, the showrunner from New Warriors decided to go ahead and speak up, and he talked a little bit about what that process was like, and he also gave us some first look images from behind the scenes as production was in fact getting ready to go ahead and actually start. They were definitely in their pre-production mode. So let's go ahead and talk about this and dive into this real quick, Stuart, because I did find this rather fascinating. For somebody like me who's always been a very big proponent of, I kind of missed the Marvel television shows on like Freeform and Disney Family or whatever other television shows or networks they certainly came on. So I found this rather interesting here. This is the New Warriors showrunner revealing first look footage, Squirrel Girl costume for the canceled Marvel series. It says television shows inspired by Marvel properties are dominating the world of pop culture at this moment. Between the MCU shows on Disney Plus and additional shows on Hulu and other networks, in and amongst all that is Marvel's New Warriors, a live action series that was planned for Freeform, but was ultimately canceled by the network and unable to find a home elsewhere. While the show's fate was initially decided all the way back in 2019, a number of fans are still incredibly eager to see it resurrected. And series creator Kevin Beagle just provided the best look yet at what would have been, or what the show would have looked like. On Wednesday, he took to Twitter to share a behind-the-scenes look at the costume for Doreen Green, aka Squirrel Girl, played none other by Milana Vaintrub. I always butcher this girl's name for this series, as well as 2 videos of the practical effects that would have been used for her squirrel sidekick Tippy Toe. So this is, it says there was a new Warrior show. Keeble says that the show was canceled before airing. A singular power that killed the show because it was too gay. It said a rich, straight Brentwood turd. That executive has since been fired. But they did go ahead and actually share some pictures. So we wanted to go ahead and bring this up for you guys to show you Squirrel Girl herself. What Squirrel Girl certainly would have looked like, played none other, once again, by, isn't this, this is the phone girl, isn't it? Milana Vaintrub apparently was going to be playing Squirrel Girl in here, and they also have another shot. You get to see her squirrel Tippy Toe on her shoulders as well, and they also have a production set of, I'm assuming, Squirrel Girl's bedroom. Clearly a big fan of Iron Man or the MCU just in general, sort of thing. Very very low budget, Stuart, it looks like to me. Just because of everything being pre-production. I mean, just thinking of like Freeform and just based off of what we have now when it comes to Disney Plus, I for some reason I do get like Stargirl vibes a little bit, although I feel like the Stargirl bedroom is much more better designed than this. But this is just pre-production, getting everything in. I'm not expecting full on, let's start filming right now type of stuff. But Squirrel Girl, absolutely adorable, man. Super cute. Would have certainly have been interested enough. There was another clip in here, guys, just so you know. It says in a later post, they did share a brief video of children watching the pilot, of his children watching the pilot on a laptop. So the pilot clearly was filmed, which happens to show a snippet of footage of Squirrel Girl leaping into action. Unfortunately, though, I believe it's since been taken down because it did not allow me to pull it up. But it says new Warriors would have followed Squirrel Girl, Mr. Immortal, Night Thrasher, who I personally would have loved to have seen on screen, Speedball also, Microbe was there, and Debris as well. 6 superpowered young people with abilities very different from the Avengers want to make a positive impact in the world, even if they are not quite ready to be heroes. The series would have also featured Kevin David as Ernest Vigman, a character who would have eventually become MODOK. So they definitely have plans on bringing a live action MODOK to the big screen. It says, in this business, one never knows. I hope that at some point it would come back. Everybody seemed to like it and love the idea. Who knows why it hasn't come to fruition as of yet? And I'll tell you why it hasn't come to fruition, Kevin, because the MCU has bigger things on their plate right now, man. So sorry about that. Sorry. So sad. But yeah, Marvel clearly has bigger things in mind when it comes to how they want to handle the MCU here. So, Stuart, you get the opportunity to see the fantastic Phone Girl. Going to get another opportunity here. Was going to be playing Squirrel Girl. Unfortunately, that didn't come to fruition. You see the photos, though. Any chance do you think of new Warriors getting resurrected from the ashes like the Phoenix and actually happening? What are your thoughts on this, man?
Probably not. I can see some of these characters coming into the MCU. I just don't see new Warriors TV show happening anytime soon. Yeah, not saying it won't happen. I personally don't see it happening anytime soon. Yeah, and I do kind of, agree with you. Like, even though I love the Disney Plus, superhero shows, I don't think necessarily it should have been a replacement for Marvel TV. I do kind of wish Marvel TV was still around. I just wish, and I think what it all comes down to is just from the start of Marvel TV, the way they went about it just wasn't the best. They didn't put the best people in charge of Marvel television, and I think that's what kind of led to its downfall. Like, I feel like a lot of people are pointing the finger at Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige also doesn't like to point fingers at anyone else, so he's totally okay with taking the blame for it, it feels like. But what it kind of comes down to is that you had both Jeff Loeb and I keep forgetting the other dude's name, but the guy that everyone hates that used to be in charge of Marvel before Kevin Feige. Yeah, you had the two of them who were in charge of all of the Marvel television shows. and they were the reasons like there were so many kind of like continuity errors between Agents of Shield and the Avengers movies, because after like the first couple seasons of Agents of Shield, suddenly the communication between the television division and then the movie division just stopped. They there was no communication, and then you had the producer of Marvel trying to tell all these actors within Marvel Television that oh yeah, you guys are definitely going to have an appearance in one of the upcoming Avengers movies, but of course never bothered to tell that to Kevin Feige or anything like that. So it's just one of those things where it's too bad, because I feel like Marvel TV would have still been around had it been managed better from the beginning. Because I don't think every superhero property needs to have a Disney Plus budget. I think you can still tell really good superhero stories with a modest budget, like for cable network, because we see it with a lot of the Arrowverse shows, and then we also saw it with some of the earlier Marvel shows, like the examples you brought up, Agents of Shield, Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger was another one that went to cable as well. I feel like both of them were really well received by everyone.
Runaways too.
Yeah, well, that one was for Hulu. So like the streaming
right.
ones were also really good in their own kind of way. Like they definitely had a bigger budget than the ones that premiered on ABC, but despite that, the writing quality, I think, for a lot of these were really good, and I don't think it needed the budget. I think the only thing these Marvel shows really needed was better communication between the TV side of things and the movie side of things, because then I feel like things could have lined up so much better, and we could have still had some of these shows continuing if that had been the case from the beginning.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. It is one of those things that, while I personally don't see the new Warriors coming back sort of anytime soon, at least in this particular iteration. I mean, it could it come back at some point in time? I mean, yeah, if Kevin Feige decides and that's the trigger that he wants to pull, maybe we can see them eventually in the MCU at some point in time. But I'm not getting my hopes up just based off of where we're at in the overarching MCU. So there is a part of me, again, like we mentioned, I've been a big supporter of just regular Marvel television shows. While I get the idea that we want everything connected, there is something inherently special about seeing how the Disney Plus television shows connect with the MCU overall, and the movies connecting to the television shows. That's great and all, but I just feel like Marvel has so many other characters that may not get the opportunity to see the light of day that they do have fans out there of. The idea of having a new Warriors, I thought Cloak and Dagger, Runaways, right? Those characters that may not ever make it to the MCU at one point in time, had at least a platform for themselves, so where these characters could get recognized and noticed, and you can still tell really great stories without super big budgets. It certainly has been done before. So there is a part of me that would like to see Marvel television kind of brought back, because I think there's just so many different types of ways to push media these days, that I think that just the idea of just keeping everything on Disney Plus and everything connected to the MCU, I almost feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself by kind of cutting out other opportunities that you could be having of making money with other characters that may not necessarily be big enough to be a part of the MCU, but you're still kind of giving them some shine here or there. So I would like to see Marvel TV come back. I don't need all my shows to have these big budgets. Just tell really great storytelling, and I think you might have something on your hands here. So I'm hoping that maybe after a few years with the MCU doing well and Disney Plus shows doing well, and it continues to expand, I do hope that there's a part of Kevin Feige and maybe just Marvel in general that decides, you know what, maybe it's okay to start bringing back these lesser known characters for these smaller projects, because I do think that there is something there that can certainly still be had, because I enjoyed some of the shows that they certainly provided for us, and I think it's just a missed opportunity. But we'll see what happens here. But granted, I really wish that I was able to go ahead and actually pull up this footage for the new Warriors, because I really would have loved to have seen how the squirrel might have actually looked in action, right? It looks like they had a couple of people working on the squirrel in the photo, whether or not that was going to be used to like manipulate it or move it, or if they were trying to fix some things. It would have been interesting to see how they would have orchestrated having this damn squirrel actually talk. But yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully, the future for I'm sure the future when it comes to Marvel TV on Disney Plus will certainly continue to be bright. But I do miss the Marvel TV shows, man. I
Mhm.
truly do. Right? Like it was just one of those things where I feel like when we watch Marvel now, and this is not a complaint, but it is one of those things when you watch Marvel now, you have to pay attention to every little thing that happens to see how it connects to the bigger picture. Maybe I just want mindless television, where I just get a season or two where I don't have to worry about the overall bigger picture of what it connects to. Maybe I just want to see my characters actually brought to live action and enjoy a smaller story kind of being told. And I feel like that's missing out these days, unfortunately. But we'll see if it comes back. Do you think it'll ever come back, Stuart? We'll have moments like that again?
Uh, I doubt it, but I also hope I'm wrong. One of the things I also really miss though when it comes to Marvel television was so looking back at specifically Daredevil season one thing that show did so great on was showing how like the impact of the MCU can hit like, the way the MCU can hit people who aren't even connected with the Avengers or anything like that. We're talking about like street level heroes like Daredevil. One thing I think the show did so well on is, kind of the subtle changes to New York City that were there, and how it affected, just, people that are normally not even part of the bigger picture. And that's the one thing I don't think we're going to get back in the MCU, sadly, because it seems like if you're in the MCU, you're part of the Avengers. You're going to be part of this big thing that they got planned. You can't just exist in the MCU in your own little world anymore. So it feels like that's another thing that I kind of miss about it that we're probably not going to get. And it's why I don't think we're ever going to get like if we do get a new Warriors TV show, it'll probably be a lot different than what they originally had in mind, and they probably won't be keeping as much of the same cast members as they had originally planned. Oh, I think you're muted.
The cast probably won't be the same. I definitely do hope that the characters are, because I do feel people deserve a Squirrel
Mhm.
Girl live action in some way or another. I think Night Thrasher certainly is super deserving, especially Cannonball. I definitely want to see Cannonball brought to life at some point in time. But you're right, it's the smaller, lesser characters, the street level characters. Because when you look at the Disney Plus stuff, these guys are all going to go on to become Avengers or part of a big ass team. But not everybody's part of a big ass team, and maybe maybe I want to get me a low level Hercules series or some shit like that, right? Like, so Hercules probably would be on the Avengers now that I think about it, but there are characters when it comes to the Marvel comics that don't really get that type of shine that I think plenty of opportunity for them to certainly do so on a smaller budget show. So we'll see what happens, guys. Listen, I want to know your guys' thoughts though when it comes to classic old school Marvel television. Before we got into the Disney Plus and the big MCU stuff, was there a particular Marvel television show that you were personally a really big fan of? I definitely would love to know what you guys think in the comment sections. Marcelino says a lot of people are glad that Marvel's New Warriors was canceled because they thought that the cast was too woke from the comics due to their diversity. They just made assumptions and didn't even read it. I do recall the pushback that that the show itself wound up getting. I want to say that I want to say like the character descriptions. I don't know if that was ever like confirmed or not. If those were like true in regards to the type of characters that we were certainly going to get. But regardless, I mean, I still feel like even if the New Warriors would have gotten canceled anyway, regardless of the drama that might have ensued around New Warriors, there's still plenty of characters out there that definitely deserve their time to shine. So yeah, like Cloak and Dagger probably could have went on for another season or two. Runaways definitely could have had another season or two. I heard some really great things in regards to a couple of those shows, and we actually reviewed Cloak and Dagger, I think, for the first two seasons back on A+ Opinions. Nathan, shout out to Nathan, appreciate you coming through. He says, as much as we enjoy the Disney Marvel series, I expected more with those budgets. Maybe that's just me. How do you feel about that, Stuart, with the with the Marvel Disney budget that they've been pushing?
I mean, I kind of disagree with the live action movies. For me, the live action shows, my bad. For me, they've looked exactly how I've expected them to. There's not like they don't have giant theatrical like special effects every single episode, but I don't think it's because they can't afford it. I think it's just because they don't want to do that. They if you put too much action in, it takes away from the story, and I don't think that's what they want to do. So I think the way they've been balancing it every episode to me is exactly how I personally would have done it if I was like the showrunner on any of these. The only time the budget, and I don't even know if budget's the right word, I think it just comes to the way they decide to produce the show. That's kind of not my favorite, was with What If. Like, I do like how they got all these voice actor, or how they got a lot of these actors to reprise their roles for What If. The part that kind of disappoints me, though, really with the show, and again, I don't know if it's a budget thing, like they could only keep these voice actors for a small amount of time, but it's just been the runtime for all these episodes, with the exception of episode 3. All these episodes just constantly feel like they're too short, and like they're just ending before, or like they keep ending right as I'm like really getting sucked into this world. So yeah, I kind of wish that's like the one thing I wish was kind of produced differently. Like I wish these episodes could be 40 minutes long instead of just 20 minutes. Because you got the actors there voicing their characters, so utilize them a little more.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there for sure. And you're right, Marcelino. I appreciate the correction, but I did pull it up. I did realize after what I said, I was like, I thought that they were actually for the comic book, because I pulled up an article here from ScreenRant.com, says meet the young stars of Marvel's New Warriors. And so it winds up giving you a brand new team roster and just their character descriptions and things like that. So it was the New Warriors cast for the comics that wind up getting a ton of pushback in regards to their description. So not necessarily the television show itself, but yeah, that did come to mind, Marcelino, when you brought that to me. I was like, was that for the TV show? But yeah, I just pulled it up from Screen Rant because it did connect with me. I was like, I thought that was the comic book. So yeah, thank you for the correction also. But were you gonna say something else, Stuart?
I was just gonna say, I feel like woke has just become such an overused word now. Like you can't have like a person who isn't white in your movie without someone going, "Oh, you're really too woke now."
Way too woke. Yeah, I hate that fucking term now. All right, guys, and with that out of the way, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic. But yes, I definitely want to know what you guys think. Whether or not you would have been big fans of the New Warriors show, I do wonder if there were other Marvel television shows outside of the MCU and Disney Plus that you guys were certainly big fans of. Go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And with that, Stuart, we will go on to our next topic. And both of these topics are kind of combined to a certain extent here, because when it comes to the multiverse, we've got ourselves two big movies that are certainly headed our way. We've got Spider-Man No Way From Home, and then of course we also have Doctor Strange 2 Into the Multiverse of Madness. So we're about to get into some big MCU films. And even though we've gotten ourselves a trailer when it comes to Spider-Man No Way Home, we've seen the return of Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. We've seen a couple of other teases as to other villains that are certainly going to be popping up in this movie in the trailer. Jamie Foxx himself has come out and confirmed that he's going to be in here as Electro sort of thing. But make no mistake that there certainly are other characters that should potentially be popping up in Spider-Man No Way Home that have not been confirmed, that are very much still rumors at this particular point in time. And Andrew Garfield doesn't really help the situation here this week, Stuart. As one of the biggest assumptions that people are certainly having out there is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in this movie? I feel like this is a topic that we've certainly talked about and teased about anytime that we talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. I feel like that's usually the last question that I usually ask everybody before we move on to the next topic. Do you think they're going to be in this movie, guys? So let's go ahead and dive into this just a little bit further, because this week, Andrew Garfield said once again, I'm not in this movie, bro. Stop putting me in this movie, guys. I'm not in this movie. Let's go ahead and talk about this. This actually comes to us from Cineblend. Andrew Garfield can't stop denying he's in Spider-Man No Way Home. This is what he says. It says somebody's lying is what the article said. Somebody is lying. And they might be lying about a lot of things. because the rumor mill swirling around John Watts' Spider-Man No Way Home has been generating hot takes regarding former Spider-Man Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield playing their versions of the Marvel hero in the next Tom Holland movie. But Garfield keeps finding creative ways to deny it. In his most recent attempt, he swears to Variety as part of a long featured covering his upcoming dramas that the stories about him returning to the famous part are false. This is what Andrew Garfield says himself. I understand why people are freaking out about the concept because I'm a fan as well. I can't help but imagine scenes and moments of, oh my God, how fucking cool would that be if they did that? But it's important for me to say on the record that this is not something I'm aware I'm involved in. But I know I'm not going to be able to say anything that will convince anybody that I don't know what's happening. No matter what I say, I'm fucked. Either it's going to be really disappointing for people or it's going to be really exciting, Stuart. What do you think it is, sir? If you had to guess, do you think people are going to be utterly disappointed or you think people are going to be really excited? If you want to go ahead and decipher what Andrew said, any thoughts in regards to it, man?
I personally think he's going to be in it. I think he's denying it for two reasons. I don't think it's all because Marvel's on his ass about it. I think he genuinely does want this to be a surprise for a lot of people. So I think for anyone who doesn't keep up with all the leaks and everything on the internet, he wants those people to go in with the big excitement when the reveal comes in that he's in the movie. And it also could even be the part that I do believe him about is him saying he has no idea what they're doing with this movie. That I 100% believe him, because Marvel knows how to keep actors in the dark and yet still have them film everything that they need to film. They do such a great job with that. And I know it's incredibly frustrating for a lot of actors that work in the MCU because of that. But at the same time, I think Marvel has done such a good job in the past of it that it's honestly really hard to tell. So I think that's the one thing in the statement that he says that he is 100% honest about, that he does not know what's going on. But that said, I do think that he is going to be in it. But yeah, again, he just doesn't want to ruin it for the fans. And I feel like saying, oh yeah, I'm definitely in it would totally ruin it. For a lot of the fans. The biggest thing I think kind of has evidence that he's going to be in it more than anything else. There were some leaked photos that came out with him in the Spider-Man suit on set. I haven't seen any of these photos. I've been trying to stay away from spoilers. So anything that isn't official Marvel statements about the upcoming Spider-Man movie, I try to avoid if it's labeled as a leak or something like that, because I don't want to know that stuff. So one of the issues, though, is that a lot of people thought this photo of him was fake, but then Sony started to flag it. So because Sony took action and decided to flag the photo, that's what got a lot of people to think that this might be real. I feel like if Sony had done nothing, people would have continued to believe it was fake and nothing would have come out of it.
I mean, that's definitely a good point to certainly make. I mean, the fact that they took that time to pull that down certainly might hint towards something. Who certainly knows? But, Stuart, I just don't know, man. I just don't know what to believe anymore. I will say I do think that he's going to be in this movie. I do. The term that he says, but it's important for me to say on the record that this is something I'm aware. This is not something I'm aware I am involved in. I find that a really interesting term, and how to say that I'm not in the movie. I wish he, the idea of saying, look, Marvel's never called me, Sony's never reached out to me, I'm not in this movie, but the fact to say that this is not something that I'm aware I'm involved in, I don't know. I don't know. It just makes me feel like maybe he is in the movie, but he really doesn't know the role that he's even playing. Maybe he's literally acting in front of a bunch of green screen and blue screen and doesn't even know how his character fits into the movie. The idea of him having a 2-minute cameo in here is completely believable enough for me, where he pops up, says a couple of sentences, and then he's done for the day. And then, and he has no idea his placement in this movie, at all. So there's something that I could believe that he doesn't know how he's even involved in this movie, but maybe still being in here. But he's right though. The sense that it doesn't matter what he says. I mean, Stuart, the man is literally denying that he's in this movie, and we still don't believe him, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's absolutely true.
Doesn't matter what he says.
Doesn't matter what his man says at this point. So I will just say this, you know, go into this movie, guys, with low expectations. Okay, that's the only thing that I would say, because even though I personally and myself do expect Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to be in this movie, I'm going into the movie with the assumption that they're not going to be in the movie. I'd rather just go into the movie that way, just so that I'm personally surprised, because he's absolutely right, Stuart. The shitstorm that would hit if Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are not in this movie, after people have hyped themselves up so much, have gotten their expectations through the roof, somebody might lose their job if they're not in this movie. I'm just being honest. Somebody might lose their job. And so let's keep our expectations low. If you think he's in the movie, that's great. That's great. But just do everything that you can to prepare yourself for the worst. That's all I'm asking, because I feel like we tend to just, if something happens in a movie we're expecting and it doesn't happen, we got to shit on the studio and the company, when they literally have not come out and said this guy's in the movie. Like, they've not said that at all. So the expectations we're putting on the movie are our own expectations. So let's maybe pump the brakes a little bit when we go into the movie. You can believe whatever you want to. I'm just asking that we, as a fan base, we pump our brakes just a little bit to avoid any sense of disappointment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be a little surprised if he's not in it, but it's definitely not going to be like a definitive factor of, oh, I'm disappointed now, this movie didn't deliver what I wanted. It's not going to be that. But yeah, it's going to be one of those things where I will definitely manage my expectations in terms of how big of a role he and Toby will play, because I really don't expect them to have that much screen time at all. I do think it's going to be Tom Holland's movie, and they really want you to know that he is, you know, the main character of the film. You know, if anything, I feel like Andrew Jackson will probably have like Garfield? Ezra Miller, Wow, no, yeah, two very different people. I am really sorry to get those two names mixed up. Fuck the guy I just mentioned. Sorry, Andrew Garfield. Will have a very, very small role, you know, like I'm thinking Ezra Miller size from Crisis on Infinite Earths type of thing, if he's in the movie. The other thing too to keep in mind, Marvel's done a good job at this in the past of like having people in the Marvel movie without them knowing that they're in a Marvel movie. So like the two examples that come to mind is I think the most obvious one is what's her face from Iron Man.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Crap, I forgot. Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow. How she didn't know she was in Spider-Man. She knew she was filming a Marvel scene, but she thought that the scene she was filming was probably for like an Avengers movie. So when like during an episode of Chef, when the Iron Man director like mentioned, oh yeah, when we were filming Spider-Man together, she's like, I wasn't in Spider-Man. Yeah, you were. We were both in Spider-Man together. And she kept denying it. And yeah, it's because like she legit probably didn't know when they were filming that scene. And then the funniest example is one of the younger versions of Captain Marvel. She was like in one of the flashback scenes. Like I think it was the girl that was playing softball, the actress that they got to play her. As far as she knew, she was just doing like a short scene for like an independent movie. She didn't know it was a Marvel movie, and she had no idea she was playing Captain Marvel in that scene. So that was like a big mind blower for her when she went to go see Captain Marvel in the theater. She's like, "Whoa, I'm in Captain Marvel! Wait a minute, I am Captain Marvel."
That's pretty,
so, you know,
pretty cool.
I could see Marvel being the kind of studio that would, you know, have Andrew Garfield in like, you know, the studio filming a scene that seems to be unrelated to Spider-Man, but then being able to cleverly edit it all together so it fits perfectly into the movie, and you wouldn't even know that he didn't know he was in a Spider-Man movie when he filmed it.
Yeah, like they literally could, if they wanted to, just CGI Andrew Garfield's face onto like a body. Homeboy never would have to even put on the suit and just be thrusted into a Spider-Man movie. So it's anything is possible at this point. But that's funny about the Gwyneth Paltrow. I can almost see why she would think she was in an Iron Man movie, though, especially when you're filming opposite of Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. And those are like the only people that you really have lines with. So I can see just the idea of just being involved in so many MCU movies and then just kind of losing track of like, oh, I was in the scene with Robert and John. I just assume it's Iron Man sort of thing. But that's pretty funny. She had no idea she was in Spider-Man. But guys, we want to know your thoughts. I mean, listen, for me, it's hard to wrap my head around the idea that we're bringing back all these Spider-Man characters and villains and not have Toby and Andrew pop up in this movie. I also want to point out, Stuart, one, you did make a good point about the idea that he too is sort of a fan. So I think he appreciates, he even says in his line, oh my God, how effing cool would that be if they did that? So I think he understands, like, he definitely understands the point of view of the fans, how much they truly want to see it. But I still think that line of, but it's important for me to say on the record that this is something I'm not aware I'm involved in, as a really interesting way of denying it. Like, for me, the idea that he says, but it's important for me to say on the record, it almost feels like he's saying, if I don't say this, Marvel will absolutely kill me. Like, it's that important for me to have to at least tell you guys this, regardless. This is all Marvel certainly wants me to say, so it's important for me to say this. I'm not involved in this movie. And then he just continues to go on however he certainly wants to. So you can decipher it as you want to, but he's absolutely right. He can deny it all day long. Nobody's going to believe this dude. It doesn't matter what he says. So we'll see what happens, guys. But do you guys think Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in Spider-Man No Way Home? Do you want to see them? How do you read some of his comments in here? And please keep your expectations low when you go into this movie. I do not want people to be disappointed.
Okay, I just thought of an interesting way to look at it, of why it's a good thing that he's continuing to deny being in this movie. So you look at a lot of the reactions on Crisis on Infinite Earths, specifically when it came to a lot of the cameos that we were getting, such as Tom Welling, and then the original Birds of Prey, and all those others, that we got like as brief cameos. A lot of people were disappointed because these were all announced like months in advance. So because of this, I feel like a lot of people went into Crisis expecting him to have a much bigger role in the overall story, but then having like such a small role in the grand scheme of things. But no one was disappointed about Ezra Miller's Flash, even though his was way shorter than any of those other cameos. And I think no one was disappointed about it because they didn't announce it and they never tried to like hype it up. So I feel like that's the smartest way they can go about it with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, because if they're not going to play like a big role in it, don't hype it up, because then you're just going to piss off fans when, their only role is that they take off their mask for like a brief scene, but then they're like back in their, they have stunt actors doing the rest of, the performance. So, I think it's a smart idea to not get people too hyped for that, because then when they see that, they're going to get disappointed. But if you say nothing, no one's going to be expecting either of them in the movie. So then when they do make their appearance, it's just going to be really awesome to see the two of them.
I totally agree with you, but I just don't know if fans will be on board with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I totally get what you're saying, but I still think if they don't pop up in this movie, trust me, there will be a horde of angry Marvel fans and Sony fans that'll come out and say, but you told us, when they really did it. They really have not. They really have not. So we'll see what happens, guys. But December will be here before we know it, and our next Spider-Man film will be here, and all of our questions will be answered. Speaking of Spider-Man No Way Home, Stuart, as we go into our next topic, a pretty ambitious film, to certainly say the least. I think the fact that they're trying to bring back so many characters, introducing the concept of a multiversal world and things like that encompassing the Spider-Man movie, I think you would probably agree with them, Stuart, when they consider Spider-Man No Way Home a very ambitious film when it comes to Marvel. But Benedict Cumberbatch has to say, look, we'll give you one even better, my friend. If you thought Spider-Man No Way Home was something, wait until you see Doctor Strange 2. And this is just a really brief quote from him, but I wanted to go ahead and talk with you about it because of the fact that I don't necessarily know if this is a competition for the MCU's most ambitious film, but it does say here, Benedict Cumberbatch says Doctor Strange 2 will challenge No Way Home as its most ambitious superhero film. He literally just says like one line. Let me see if I can pull this up. It says he even spills the beans. He says he even spills a little bit of tea about No Way Home in response to Tom Holland's comments on a previous episode where Tom Holland says, I think this is the most ambitious standalone superhero film ever made. Naturally, Benedict Cumberbatch has a swift response and says, until Doctor Strange 2 comes out, throwing down a gauntlet for the next phase of Marvel. So yeah, very brief, Stuart, in regards to it. But Benedict Cumberbatch thinks like, hey, if you think Spider-Man No Way Home is huge, you ain't seen nothing yet. My buddy and me and my buddy Sam Raimi got something for that ass for you guys, Spider-Man fans. And he's coming out to challenge No Way Home as the most ambitious superhero film. What do you think in regards to that, though? Do you granted, we haven't seen the movie yet. We just have an idea of what we're potentially getting. But how, based off of how things have certainly lined up, which film would you say is the probably most ambitious? I'm sure our points of view were clearly changed once we actually see the movies and we've had opportunity to sit with it. But if we had to try and speculate before going in, based off of what both of these movies are trying to achieve, what would you say would probably be the most ambitious in your mind as of right now?
You know, if I have to take Doctor Strange 2 at its title alone, I'm going to have to go with Doctor Strange 2 because, like, Spider-Man No Way Home, it feels like the multiverse is going to play, like, a part in the movie, but it's not going to be, like, entirely about the multiverse. Like, it does feel like it's still going to be very character based throughout the movie, but the multiverse will just play a part in it. Doctor Strange 2 seems like it's revolved entirely around the multiverse, and I feel like they've done a lot of things to really set this up. Like, I think what they're going to do with this movie can be potentially extremely ambitious if they go the route I think they are, which they kind of set up in What If a little bit with the idea of him losing his loved one and therefore, going into this dark magic and unlocking like these spells that no one should ever be allowed to use and everything. I feel like we might get a plot like that in Doctor Strange 2 where like he loses his love interest in a similar fashion, and rather than trying to bring her back through time travel, probably tries to kind of like Kingpin in Into the Spider-Verse, tries to find another version of her and needs Wanda's power in order to do so, with her also looking for her children. I feel like the two of them are going to be what completely F's up the multiverse and causes I think we're going to get a mixture of both characters we've already seen from previous Marvel movies that weren't connected to the MCU originally, such as like X-Men characters, maybe with some of the same actors, I'm hoping, but I'm also not going to get my hopes too high up for that. But with that all being said, if Benedict Cumberbatch is saying that this is going to be bigger than the Spider-Man No Way Home, I believe him because he is one of the few Marvel actors that actually gets a little more insight into everything that goes on with Marvel, because he's actually really good at keeping secrets the way Marvel wishes all their actors would. So I believe him personally. I think that he's probably actually read the script for Doctor Strange 2, so he probably knows a lot more of what we can expect for it.
Yeah, I would, and I think it also helps the fact too with him being in Spider-Man No Way Home. I think he has an idea of how big and bombastic that movie is certainly going to be, and so with him being a part of No Way Home and still saying that, and then now having had experience with filming with Sam Raimi, I probably would agree with you. I think like if there is out of these two movies, the one that will be the most ambitious, it probably will be Doctor Strange. So I'll definitely agree with you there and believe Benedict, just because he's gonna be in both films. So if anybody knows what's coming, it's definitely him. But I will say this. This is definitely not to say that Spider-Man No Way Home will not be ambitious in any sense or another. I feel like when it comes to No Way Home, there's a potential for a lot of crazy shit to happen in this movie. This potentially could be Tom Holland's last movie in the MCU as we know it. This could very well be sort of a transition film from taking him into our MCU, maybe someplace into, say, the Sony universe that they're certainly establishing. Because I'm sure at some point in time, maybe Sony will want to take Spider-Man back for themselves. What were you going to say, Stuart?
Just this. My bad. Sorry for the spoiler for WandaVision.
Get on it, Marcelino. Get on it, Marcelino. So I do wonder if this will be also a movie that will help transition Tom Holland from the MCU into Sony. We've already seen just from the No Way Home, or I should say from the Morbius trailer, the idea of like Michael Keaton being brought in and things like that. So there is a part of me that wonders, not only are we going to be getting Marvel characters, but are we going to be getting like how many other Sony characters are we actually going to be getting from that from that timeline that we wind up having previously? When you talk about Doctor Strange, that movie does sound super ambitious because I mean, think about it. We've got Loki that I think is supposed to pop up in that movie. We also have Wanda that's supposed to pop up in that movie. Nightmare that's supposed to be in that movie. America Chavez that's supposed to be in that movie. Also on top of Doctor Strange and all the time traveling and things like that, multiverse aspect that's supposed to happen. That movie sounds extremely ambitious to me when I just think about it. But I think the idea and the importance of No Way Home to maybe give us a potential Sinister Six that Sony has always been wanting to do, introducing the idea of multiversal conflicts, and the idea of maybe transitioning Spider-Man over to Sony. I do think that this movie certainly does have big ramifications for itself, to certainly say the least. But I do think that the bigger ambition certainly probably comes when it comes to Doctor Strange 2. But either way, I'm personally excited for both of these movies, man. Like I cannot wait. The fact that they're coming, I think it's December for Spider-Man, and then like March, it's not going to be that long of a wait. So I'm kind of curious to see also how connected these two movies certainly are with one another, because I'm kind of under the impression that they are. Like when I think of the connective tissues that we've seen so far, like there's something that speaks to me about WandaVision, Loki, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange 2 all connecting in some way or another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I fully agree. It feels like Marvel is really just going all out with the multiverse. It's like, hey, now that we've set up, our own universe, it's time to have a little fun. Let's check out some of the worlds that came before us, and let's integrate those into our world, in the best way that we can. So it looks like they're just going to have an absolute blast, going balls to the wall with exploring the multiverse. And I feel like Doctor Strange 2 is going to be the big one that kind of like fully shows us what it is. Not only, I don't think it's going to top Doctor Strange 2 when it comes to the multiverse. I feel like that's going to be Marvel's Crisis on Infinite Earths is the best way to put it. But at the same time, I feel like that movie alone is going to definitely be setting up a lot of things that we're going to be seeing playing out later on in the MCU. I think it's going to be kind of the movie where we really get to see how vast the multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe really is.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. This definitely will be a stepping stone to a lot more of the MCU phases.
Fingers crossed, something I really want to see in this movie. I really hope we get that Doctor Strange from the What If episode, the one that wiped out his entire universe. I really want him in Doctor Strange 2, like as an antagonist, like maybe not the antagonist, but an antagonist, I think would be amazing.
I got weird Dr. Druid vibes from him for some reason, just how dark and everything he certainly was. I will say this, I'm curious also, like just based off of watching What If there are any live action incarnations that might make its way into the Doctor Strange 2 movie. Like I wonder if there's a brief, Haley Atwell as Captain Carter that pops up briefly or something like that. I'd be interested to see what this movie is going to do, but I definitely agree with you when you say that the Doctor Strange 2 will have, I feel like, a much bigger impact on the MCU in the long run than say something like a No Way Home. But we'll see. We got both movies to look forward to, and they'll be here before we know it, guys. But listen, we want to know your thoughts. You hear Benedict Cumberbatch saying, listen, Spider-Man No Way Home, without a doubt, an ambitious film. But wait till you see Doctor Strange 2. Do you think that's going to one-up No Way Home? Do you think it's considered an ambitious film by the MCU? Go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And with that, Stuart, out of the way, we will go ahead and actually tackle your live viewer questions, guys. So thank you very much for everybody who certainly participated this week with live viewer questions. Let's go ahead and pull this up and see what we got here. All right. First set of questions. Let me go back to. All right. Marcelino Vasquez has got a couple of questions for us. Appreciate you coming through, Marcelino. I'm open for Michael Keaton returning as Batman and the Spider-Man villains from previous comeback for No Way Home, even if I've never seen the movie where they debuted from. But I like, wait, hold on, wait, hold on. Let me go back and read that again. I'm open for Michael Keaton returning as Batman and the Spider-Man villains from the previous comeback for No Way Home, even though I've never seen the movies where they debuted from. I would definitely recommend you check them out then, Marcelino. But I feel like Marvel and DC are being handicapped to the past for nostalgia and not putting more effort into the current cast. It kind of feels like a disrespect to my generation, almost like the production team and the older fans are directly telling me, screw your generation's Batman and Spider-Man. Ours is superior. And the only reason your generation of Batman and Superman exists was so that ours could one day come back and replace yours permanently. What do you think, Stuart?
I disagree with that 100%. Yeah, sorry, dude. I don't think that's it at all. I think, we're all of us are drawn to the past in one way or another, and I don't think it can be an issue depending on how you handle it. But I think the way that DC and Marvel are handling it, it's not about like trying to replace what they got now. I think it's just about like, hey, look at where we are now. Let's take a brief moment to look back at where we started. But it's not like they're bringing back the past to replace the present. They're just, giving us a little bit of memory lane. But the present is still like, Tom Holland's still going to be Spider-Man. They're not
Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, there's not going to be a solo Spider-Man movie after this with Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. It's still going to be Tom Holland going forward. So, and then, same with Batman. We got Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, but he's not going to be replacing Robert Pattinson or anything like that. We still have Robert Pattinson who's going to be Batman going forward. So, it just all comes down to, I personally don't see anything wrong with visiting the past for a brief moment. Just, it's when you get like too caught up in it. And this isn't anything new also, because, we've had like anniversaries and like kind of reunions type of things going on for decades. It's just that now with Marvel and DC, their movies kind of being more like televisions in a sense, with how like each movie kind of sets up the next movie and then the next entry for like the big like Avengers, which in the way is like their season finales basically. It's just like you're watching these anniversary reunion specials just on a much bigger scale is what it is now. But yeah, I had an example. Oh yeah, like one example I can think of is you had this really entertaining Batman movie that not a lot of people know about, so I highly recommend checking it out. It's hilarious. But it was like a movie that went straight to TV back in the early 2000s with Adam West and Burt Ward, and they were basically playing themselves. And they were at like kind of a reunion for Batman 66, and I can't remember exactly what it is. A MacGuffin goes missing and they have to track it down. So it's treated like an episode of Batman and Robin. But while that all happens, you get flashbacks and it's treated like a biopic of them first becoming Batman and Robin, or getting the role of Batman and Robin, and how the two of them became friends over time as actors. So it's a really cool movie. And, so things like that have existed for so long, but it's just that it wasn't until now where suddenly like these have gotten so much more upscale because of just movies essentially kind of being treated like television shows in a sense. Sorry, that was a big rant. I apologize.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, no, I also look at it like nostalgia is a powerful drug too, man. Being able to bring back some of these actors, I think one gets fans of the past actors excited and rejuvenated, brings them back to the box office type of thing. Also, I think nostalgia brings in money for sure. I think they're super smart about it, but I never am under the impression that they're like, I don't, for those of you who watch wrestling, like, I don't see this as a case of like an old vet coming in and taking the spotlight from the newbies, and people not getting that opportunity. This feels very much like cameos and one-offs sort of thing, to do something really big and new and drastic, to just kind of do really fun concepts, especially when it comes to the multiverse and things like that. So I think returning some of these characters isn't so much to replace what we a new generation of characters, so much as I almost wouldn't it wouldn't also surprise me if it also helps boost the awareness of maybe some of the new characters, or maybe just bring a different type of appreciation to them, because I do think that there's something powerful about bringing back a nostalgic character who we love, sort of thing, and rubbing shoulders with the new guy, giving him advice and, like, helping him navigate his way through being a superhero, or a new way to view things. Like, I always feel like they're brought back to maybe help even lift the new generation of heroes that we certainly have to a certain extent. So yeah, I never see, whenever they do like this multiverse stuff, or they bring back some of these old characters, I always thought it was just based off of nostalgia, fun, but never so much as a replacement. Like, your guys aren't good enough, so we got to bring our people back. Because I feel like Marvel especially is introducing us to a plethora of brand new characters, and we've yet to see a return of Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they came back and they reprised their role and took a role, then maybe we'll talk that maybe there's something there. But I think the fact that they are introducing us to so many brand new characters and not overshining them. So yeah, I think that's more or less what it's like, and not so much about we're trampling on this current generation superheroes. So I definitely agree with you there, Stuart, also. Let's see here. Why do you think the Suicide Squad failed at the box office? Some people say it was because Black Widow was so woke and that it felt, there's your term again, Stuart. Some people say it was because Black Widow was so woke that it left a bad taste in people's mouth, that it made them not want to watch the Suicide Squad a chance, which I disagree, and it doesn't make any kind of sense. Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, they're two completely different movies. So if you thought the Suicide Squad was going to be handled the same way the Black Widow would be, like, why? Like, based off of just the trailers and stuff, they look like two completely different movies, two completely different writers, two completely different directors. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
Different studios.
Studios, yeah. Like, so I definitely agree with you there, Marcelino. Like, it just doesn't make any type of sense to me at all. Why it failed at the box office is another question entirely. Right now, the Suicide Squad, a budget of $185 million, Stuart, $185 million worldwide, didn't even break even, man. $162 million worldwide. This is a movie that did get released in over 4,000 theaters, so it did have a big opening. But this is also a movie that shared an exclusive release on HBO Max as well.
Yeah.
And if I could be honest, I've seen Suicide Squad twice, and you know where I saw them? At home. So yeah. What about you, Stuart?
There's three factors that I think went into it. The obvious one is the dual release, HBO Max and theaters. I think that was the most obvious one of why it didn't do quite as good. Me, myself, I saw it once in theaters, but then I saw it on HBO Max like the following week, because my friend hadn't seen it and it was like really late, so we didn't really have time to go to a theater. The second factor is the R rating. Which I think that always will, even though you can still have a very successful superhero with an R rating, just the R rating on top of the pandemic with everything like that, it definitely is going to, no matter how good your movie is, it's still going to have somewhat of a stomp in your overall sales. Even though like Joker and Deadpool did amazing, I do think they would have financially made more if they were PG-13. Not saying I want them to be. I'm glad they're rated R because I think there were better movies for it. I just think technically they probably would have been more financially better if they were PG-13. Not that I want it to be. Lastly, and I think this is the biggest factor, and this is coming from someone working at a theater who actually, talks with his customers every once in a while, to interact, to find out what they thought of certain movies. I think the biggest problem is that it's a sequel to Suicide Squad, and I don't mean like just it being a sequel to a bad movie automatically hurt it. No, I think the fact that it's way too different from the first movie and it's still being called, it's still a sequel to that first movie is what majorly hit it badly, because people who didn't like the first movie don't want to see it because they didn't like the first movie. And so why would they go watch a sequel to the first movie if they didn't like it? And I'm not talking about like comic book fans. I'm talking about casual moviegoers. The other big factor is people who like the first movie aren't going to see it because it's so different from the first movie. Because I've talked to a few customers who actually really liked the first movie and did not want to watch past like the first 30 minutes of this movie because it was so different from it. So I think like that's kind of like that was the main factor, is with it being so different from the first movie but still being called a sequel, and the fact that, you know, people who didn't like the first movie didn't want to see it, and then the people who liked the first movie didn't want to see it. So it's just unfortunate. Like, I think it was just the mixture of all three of these factors that really led to the movie being an unfortunate bomb at the box office, which is too bad because it's probably my favorite DC movie, and I'm not even kidding. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it was absolutely a great film. The box office definitely does not coincide with the quality of the movie by any stretch, but you definitely do bring up three great reasons as to why it did the money that it certainly did at the box office. And I definitely agree with you. I do think, especially one, the rated R certainly hurt it a little bit, even though we have seen rated R DC films go on to cross $1 billion. It's certainly more than capable. But when you take that into account, along with what you mentioned also, Stuart, the idea that this is a sequel to a movie that some people weren't the biggest fans of, and left a really bad sort of taste in their mouth. And I also don't think it helped maybe some of the marketing in regards to Warner Brothers, because I felt like when they first started announcing this movie, they were very hush hush as to, is this a reboot? Is this a sequel? Right. So I think a lot of people went in to the movie not really knowing what it was certainly meant to truly be. I mean, you did have some connective tissues to the first Suicide Squad with returning characters, so maybe that should have given some people a clue. But I do think marketing probably didn't help at all. And you're right. I mean, the idea that you're literally doing a sequel or another movie to one that wasn't super well received, definitely not going to get that many people in the seats at the movie theaters to certainly see them. So yeah, definitely a lot of reasons for sure. And his last question: what kind of questions does it take for you to ignore, not answer, and just skip? I would think that half the questions I ask you guys would fall into that category. Hey man, we need the content. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I mean, I don't really. I mean, I guess it's like just obviously disrespectful and insensitive. Maybe I'll probably like just screw it and just pass over it, sort of thing. I think sometimes too, if I see that somebody's trying to sneak in a fourth or fifth question on top of the three, I'll probably ignore some of those too. But I'm always up for a challenge and answering the question as best as I can. I don't necessarily shy away from answering tough questions. But yeah, and plus we need the content from time to time. You know, it makes for good TV, Marcelino.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, actual question, like, have we ever skipped a live viewer question? Because I don't think so. I've definitely skipped back when we used to get a lot of comments when our channel was A+ opinions, there would definitely be live comments that I would skip because I'm like, okay, this guy's just being an a-hole just to be an a-hole. He's not like right. Not trying to like actually ask a real question. But when it comes to the live viewer questions, as far as I know, they've always been like good questions, that and I think the only ones that we kind of will skip though are the ones where if it's already a topic that we talked about earlier in the show, though that'll be one where like, okay, yeah, we already kind of answered that, so we'll skip that. But yeah.
Let's see here. Jessica Fryman's got a couple questions. Are there any plans to have more Batman sidekicks come to Batwoman? And which DC hero or heroine would you like to see pop up in the Arrowverse one day? Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sure with Batwoman, we're going to be getting spoilers sometime soon because they just introduced her as Sophia. And they kind of gave her the same origin from the comics with her like spoiling her father's plan. So I feel like we're probably going to see her suit up as Spoiler, and Tim Drake's going to get super jealous because clearly she and Luke Fox have a thing going on.
Is there a Tim Drake in Batwoman already? Did they introduce him?
Oh, no, not yet. But if they ever do, just because in the comic books, her and Tim Drake were a thing. But I mean, then again, Tim Drake's had like a fling with like the Robins, man. They get around.
They get around. The Robins do get around. I mean, Dick Grayson's body count is ridiculous, I'm sure. And then which DC hero or heroine would you like to see pop up in the Arrowverse one day? The more I see of Naomi, And just the idea of bringing fresh new characters. I really wish that they had picked up Yara Flor as
Mhm.
Wonder Girl. I really do wish that they had picked her up. So if anything, I'm hoping that maybe they learn the error of their ways, and if they need more content for like the 2022 fall season, maybe Wonder Girl will finally get her opportunity and shot when it comes to the Arrowverse one day.
Uh, I really want to see like Yara would be like really cool, of course, but of course I got to go with Wonder Woman. I really want to see her in the Arrowverse, specifically in an episode of Superman and Lois, just because I feel like they're, we have probably our most experienced live action Superman in Superman and Lois. So I feel like this guy who has experience, there's been implications that he's had a huge history with Batman, and I would love to find out that he's had a history with Wonder Woman as well. And it would be funny if we got to see I mean, don't go overboard with it, because I do get that it can be kind of a really overdone kind of stereotype in a lot of sense, with the wife always being jealous of the guy's friend. But it would be kind of funny to me to see a slightly jealous Lois Lane for Wonder Woman. Like, don't have him like actually have a fling or anything like that, obviously, because Tyler Hoechlin Superman would never do that. But have it be like, you could have like Lois having just a slight subtle bit of insecurity around Wonder Woman. I think would be kind of
who
funny.
wouldn't? I mean,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, I would love to see her in the Arrowverse at some point.
That'd be cool, man. That'd be cool. I had always been really pushing for Nightwing at some point in time, like back in the early Arrow days when they would name drop Bloodhaven from time to time and stuff, But yeah, we unfortunately never got that. Doomsday's got a couple of questions. He says, before the role of Thena in the Eternals, did you ever think Angelina Jolie would actually be in a Marvel movie? Maybe in this, like, I honestly didn't. Maybe like younger Angelina Jolie, maybe like 15 years ago, totally. Maybe 15, 20 years ago, totally. I think that she probably would have been in a Marvel movie, but like, now, yeah, it's hard to wrap my head around. Like, I mean, I know she's done some great action pieces in her time, but I just always felt like she'd be more original movie sort of actress as of right now in her career. But the fact that she's coming on board with a Marvel movie, yeah, I never thought I would see it, but I'm super glad that I am. She's a phenomenal actress, definitely can hold her own. But yeah, before her role in the Eternals, did you ever think that we would see Angelina Jolie in the MCU?
Not necessarily, but not because I didn't think it would never happen, just mostly because there's just some actors I don't think about super much about, like, oh, well, I wonder where they could like fit into the MCU. Yeah. Angelina Jolie was just one of those actors, but her being in the MCU makes a lot of sense to me. Like, now that she's been casted in it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense that they would eventually try to get her. Something funny, really quick. I swear I won't go on a long tangent about this. Something funny to think about, though, with MCU actors in general is I remember back in phase 1 and 2, it would always be exciting when you'd see one or more MCU actors in the same movie that wasn't an MCU project. But nowadays, the MCU has gotten so expansive with all the actors that have become in it, to the point where now it's bizarre if you watch a mainstream movie that doesn't have at least 2 MCU actors in it.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Like, even if you just watch a regular movie, I feel like anybody that you see in there, or at least somebody that you see in there, you can associate them with the character from either DC or Marvel at this point in time. It is pretty crazy. Doomsday also says, would be a little odd if Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy was in No Way Home, considering she did sadly die in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I wouldn't call it odd. I think there's a possibility for it to happen. I mean, we don't necessarily know like what time periods they're plucking these characters out of. Like, Alfred Molina actually looks like 10 years younger than what we saw him in Spider-Man 2. Like, homeboy looks fit. He looks in great shape as Doc Ock. So I'm sure it's the same one that clearly faced Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, but still, I think there's a chance that they could have pulled Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy if they wanted to. I don't know how she would certainly play a role in No Way Home, and we don't really know the storylines or why she would be brought back. But I think it's just because she died at the end, I don't think that's a necessary. There's no chance. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it would be kind of cool if they brought her back, not as the same Gwen Stacy, but like as Spider Gwen maybe, and then you have that kind of conflict with and Andrew Garfield. I almost said it again. Sorry, Andrew Garfield, like feeling really guilty for not being able to save her, especially every time like he sees her face, because they do that in the comic books a lot whenever the two cross over, because Gwen Stacy was responsible for Peter Parker's death, and then like Peter Parker feels responsible for Gwen Stacy's death in both of their universes, so it makes things really tense between the two of them. I would love to see that in live action.
Yeah, I would love to see that too. Which serious issue tackled in the MCU do you think was the most serious one? Tony's PTSD in Iron Man 3 or Wanda's grief over Vision throughout WandaVision?
I will go with Wanda's grief, just because I feel like for Iron Man, they didn't delve into it quite as much as I wish they did. I kind of wish for Iron Man 3 they did the Demon in the Bottle storyline with his PTSD.
I would have loved that, yeah.
Yeah. But it definitely felt like something that Marvel was afraid to do at the time, because that was the beginning of phase 2, if I'm not mistaken, Iron Man 3. So that would have, it makes total sense why they didn't do that early on, because it felt like they were still playing it very safe back then. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like in retrospect, if they had done it that way, definitely Iron Man 3. But as of now, because of the way it actually did play out, definitely Wanda. I think WandaVision dealt with grief in a really, really well done way.
Yeah, I would agree with you. For me, I do wonder also if they never tackled that storyline with Tony, just because of Robert Downey Jr.'s past. Like, I wonder if that's maybe a little bit too close to home for him with everything that he had been through in his past career and things like that. So I do wonder if they wanted to play it safe and not tackle it. But yeah, it's almost like the PTSD, and again, not downplaying it for anybody that has to deal with PTSD or grief, but it felt like they turn that more into anxiety attacks than anything else. You know what I mean? Even though it was he clearly had a huge fear as to what certainly was coming, but still, I would agree with you in the sense that I've seen like where Wanda's grief actually pushed her to do. I definitely find is a more serious issue. The lengths that she certainly went to kind of keep her family and keep Vision around, sort of thing. Much more powerful, and I think a much more serious topic, because I mean, she's even now still dealing with it, right? Like, and then I always thought, especially when it comes to, and I don't want to give away too much for Marcelina, who hasn't watched WandaVision, which I would clearly recommend, but I think the idea of just seeing somebody opposite of her, like Teyana Paris's character and Monica, to try and help Wanda navigate through how to handle her grief, I thought was handled really well in the series. Also, some really great nuggets of knowledge and advice, I think, for anybody that's dealing with it. So I really do love the way that they kind of tackled it. And it just goes to show you how powerful grief truly can be in order to push people to do things that they normally wouldn't, So crazy stuff. But yeah, I would agree with you there. Let's see here. Dino AJ's got a couple questions. He says, with Leslie Grace about to be our new Batgirl for the movie, what do you want to see that's all new that we have not seen in DC superhero movie or superhero films in general? And do you feel like it will attract negativity the same way Batwoman series, only this time the lead being another woman instead of skin color? I don't necessarily know if I've seen a lot of pushback for Leslie Grace as Batgirl since the announcement. Maybe it is out there. I haven't really read too much in regards to it, but I think for me, two things I will say. I don't know I think they might actually have a director and everybody already set up for this movie. So I'll hold off on that thought. But I will say, I think what I brought up earlier for me is one that I'm really excited for. I mean, clearly I'll be interested to see what the action is going to be like with another Bat character. But I think for me, it'll probably be the relationship between Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon. I really don't believe, and somebody in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we've really seen a lot of Commissioner Gordon and Barbara Gordon interactions, that father and daughter sort of relationship, the pushback that maybe Gordon gives to his daughter for staying out of harm's way, sort of thing. The mentality of her maybe knowing that there's more that she can do, that her father certainly wouldn't permit for her to do. And I think a lot of what Leslie Grace said in this interview really goes a long way. And so I think that's a dynamic that I definitely want to see embarked on when it comes to this movie. But is there anything new or unique or something that hasn't been seen or done in another superhero movie store that you would like to see in here? Give me a new Bat Cycle too for Batgirl. I'll take one of those.
I don't know about anything new, really, that I want to see. I mean, obviously, I want to see something new, but that new thing I can't really think of is what I meant to say. So for now, it's like all I want to see is just a really fun, well done superhero movie. And I think they chose, like I said earlier, I think they chose a really good actress to play Barbara Gordon. So I really look forward to seeing how she does. As for the pushback question, if it's going to get the same kind of pushback as Batwoman, I mean, I don't think so. And I say that because Batwoman's like a CW show, so it's just an easy target. Is kind of the issue. I love the Arrowverse shows, but there is so much you can make fun of every single one of them, with the exception of Superman and Lois, which is a masterpiece. So
Like I've been trying to tell my friend Jonathan, he said last week when we talked, he said he hadn't seen Doom Patrol or Superman and Lois, and I said, bro, you got to watch both of these series. I wouldn't do you wrong, Jonathan. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, with the other Arrowverse shows, I kind of look at them the same way I look at Power Rangers. It's a fun, guilty pleasure for me, and some of them are really good. I do think early seasons of The Flash are actually really good. Same with Arrow, but at the same time, I don't usually say it's going to hit everyone the same way it hits me. I'm I know these are shows that are made basically for me, and I don't expect anyone to like them the same way that I do. So with that being said, that goes back to what I was saying, is that Batwoman is kind of an easy target because it's a CW show. I don't think Batgirl has that going against it, though. With it being a movie going to the HBO Max, I don't think it's still going to be targeted, of course, by a bunch of a-holes on YouTube, but it's not going to be the quantity of the amount of people that target it isn't going to be anywhere near as much as it was for Batwoman.
I definitely agree. He also says, do you think that Andrew Garfield, who's been denying rumors of being in Spider-Man A No Way Home, he says home slice, that's his own personal title for it, is just another way for the movie to gain publicity or to fool people, especially haters who constantly say he nor Toby are taking any part in this film? Another way for it to gain publicity. I mean, any publicity is good publicity.
So yeah, I could see that. I mean, it got us talking about it today. It had to become one of our topics. So I'd say that's probably the purpose of it. Yeah.
And I think anytime that you put an actor out there that's in the movie that's doing interviews, I think anytime that he's talking about a movie that he's potentially or not going to be in, I think is always going to be a form of definitely a form of publicity in some way or another. Even if they don't necessarily mean for it to, it definitely brings eyes and attention to the project that they're working on. I don't necessarily know if it's especially towards haters. I don't necessarily know if that's the mindset that they certainly have, but it'll definitely just cause if anything, they'll definitely just cause some conversation to happen. With the new Transformers movie being in the works, or with a video of Optimus Prime driving, do you think it'll be the same universe as Bumblebee, which is my favorite Transformer films in years? And do you think it can capture the same energy that made Bumblebee such a hit? Hasbro clearly knew what they were doing with Bumblebee because they own the franchise since the cartoon. Yeah, I did see we did post a video up on our Facebook page. If you guys have not had the opportunity to, they're currently filming, I believe, in Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody out their window actually filmed the truck for Optimus Prime rolling out down the streets of Brooklyn, which was awesome to see it just in action, sort of thing. So, do you think it can capture the same energy that made Bumblebee such a hit, Stuart?
in a different way, yes. It's definitely so what made Bumblebee kind of unique was that it was a much more of a personal story, since you only had one Transformer that it was focusing on, with like, one main human character. I mean, obviously there were a few other human characters, but you had one main human character that it would focus on as well. So it definitely will be a very different type of energy, but I do think it can capture the same energy. I think they're going to learn from what a lot of people loved about Bumblebee, and they're going to try to bring that to this next Transformers movie. For the first part of your question of whether or not it's going to be connected to it, yeah, they did confirm that it is going to be a sequel to Bumblebee. I don't think they specified the exact year it takes place in, but it will be connected to Bumblebee. It just probably won't have what's her face, Haley Steinfeld, coming back to reprise her role. I think it's going to focus on different human characters, but yeah, I hope it keeps up the same energy as Bumblebee, though, for sure.
I want to say 1994 is the year. So I
Okay,
believe we had Bumblebee in what, the 80s?
yeah. So this will be
Yeah.
like years after Bumblebee, but yeah, they did say it does take place after Bumblebee, implying that they are connected.
Yeah, so 1994 is the date that you guys are looking for
I
there.
kind of hope so, because I actually did kind of like him in Bumblebee, so I totally be down for him to reprise his role.
We may not be able to see him in the film though, but he'll be there somewhere. Um, anyway, but yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm hoping if anything, it does. I hope that it captures the same energy. I mean, we do have completely new directors and writers coming on board, so it will certainly have its own distinct feel. So if anything, we'll see. I'm hesitant. I'm really not trying to get my hopes up in regards to this movie, just because I really wanted to see Travis Knight return. I'm not too confident in regards to the rider itself, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Keep Michael way far away from the camera. Just
Yeah.
just keep like a collar on him, so anytime he goes near, it just shocks him. So get
Yeah.
like a shock collar on Michael Bay. Keep him completely
Keep him
offset.
far
We'll
away,
be
please.
fine.
That's all I
Yeah.
ask. Yes. Yeah. And then last sets of questions here from Adrian Perez. What's up, Adrian? Good to see you, buddy. He says, "Hey, Adam, it's Adrian. Hope you're doing well. This isn't related to anything, but what did all you think about the recent breaking news of Tessa Rao making history again as a first established LGBTQ Power Rangers this season? And what do you want to see in her episode going forward?" I talked about this a little bit on A Plus More Phenomenal yesterday, Stuart. So I'll give you the platform here to talk about it more if you want to. So Power Rangers have given us our first established LGBTQ Power Ranger in Power Rangers, like ever. At least being very open about it, at least in the upcoming episode 13 of Power Rangers Dino Fury here. It's been teased before in the 2017 Power Ranger movie with Becky G that played Trini, but the idea of actually being out pretty brand new to Power Rangers when it comes to TV. So I'm sure you've probably saw this on your Twitter feed. We haven't watched the episode yet, so we don't really, maybe you have, I don't know. I haven't watched the episode myself yet. But what are your thoughts in regards to it?
I thought it was freaking amazing. Yeah, so I gotta be honest. So I was trying to hold up and wait until it all aired on
Me too.
Nickelodeon, but like there's been so many freaking spoilers on
It's
Twitter, and
everywhere.
at this point it's like such a big deal where I'm like, okay, screw it, I'm gonna watch it, which sucks because it's in French and there's no subtitles. So I'm kind of like putting together in my head what I think they're saying. But what is cool though, what is really awesome about the ending of this episode is I was worried that it was going to be like the Power Rangers movie, where it was implication through dialogue, and that was going to be it. This was not implication. This was very directly, she is definitely into this other girl. And I thought that was so amazing that not only did they get the green light from Hasbro to do this, but the fact that Nickelodeon themselves is allowing this to happen. Hopefully, I really hope there isn't any last minute, oh, we're pulling this episode from the air. That's like the one thing that is still slightly worrying me, because Nickelodeon seems like the type of channel that would totally do something like that. So like I still have that slight fear in the back of my head, but I'm so glad that it's happened. And I also love the way Simon Bennett has been like kind of talking about this on Twitter too, because there was like a comment, I think you mentioned it in your A Plus More Phenomenal, how, oh, you're muted.
Yeah, somebody was made a comment that this should have been done years ago, and so it makes them feel like this is a marketing ploy by Hasbro or
Yeah.
something like that. Is what they
Yeah,
say.
exactly. And I love like Simon Bennett's response of it's not, I assure you it's not a marketing ploy, but yeah, you're right. It's way overdue. And I thought, oh wow, that's a really cool response from him, very mature, very and I love how he kind of agrees with them too there. So yeah, I think this is really great because one thing Power Rangers has always had going for it was diversity. And I think like Dino Fury's just been doing absolutely incredible with keeping that going, with finally having our first LGBTQ character in Power Rangers, and the fact that it had more cojones to actually go through with it by being direct about it, whereas even the movie had to be coy with it. They were afraid of directly saying it in the movie.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, this is definitely about time, if you ask me personally. Based off of the fact that Power Rangers over the years has always been very inclusive, very open to diversity. Not just the color of your skin wise, but now branching off in the world of, it doesn't matter what your sexuality is, right? Even the 2017 Power Ranger movie introduced a Power Ranger with autism for the most part too. Marcelino does point out also, he says Nickelodeon has a gay couple in the cartoon The Loud House, so Nickelodeon would only Power Rangers away from the network because they hate Power Rangers. But yeah, so Nickelodeon definitely does have its fair share of gay couples on their shows. And I felt like I heard somebody else, not even animated, but even live action. I thought there was another show with a gay couple on there for Nickelodeon also. But
that I didn't know. I knew with the Loud House and I knew with Legend of Korra, but I kind of assumed it was one of those things where, it's animation, so no one cares.
I want to. I could be wrong, but I want to say that there's another live action Nickelodeon show, but I could be wrong. But yeah, no, I think this is just sort of long overdue. I think that the news was absolutely great. Some people felt the idea of that it maybe came out of left field for the Izzy character. They were like, but we, they didn't even let us know or show hints or signs or anything. And I
disagree.
One of the things that I said, first off, what I said very early on, and I said this, I think maybe after New Recruits or something like that. I said, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy or Amelia in this series ends up being gay. I would not be surprised. I think the fact that Hasbro and Dino Fury have been doing such a good job of first this seasons and really establishing that as something that they want to try and pull the trigger on throughout this season. I think I said as early as episode 4, like it wouldn't surprise me if because there's so many people out there trying to ship characters together, and wouldn't it be cool if this person was a couple? I'd be like, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these girls actually like females. It would not surprise me at all. So the fact that Tessa Rao playing Izzy Garcia now officially comes out on the show, I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely great. And it is one of those things where, I said this yesterday, for people that said that it just kind of came out of nowhere. I feel like those are usually the reveals when people actually come out and admit to everybody, that they're gay or lesbian or whatever their sexual orientation is. Some people can't even tell prior to that. It's not like people leave breadcrumbs around and, want to give you clues. So maybe you can figure out before they're ready to tell you. It really all just depends on when the person feels safe and comfortable enough to be able to be open about that aspect of their life. So I think the idea of characters, this came out of nowhere, they didn't show us any signs, if people want to use that, I just think reality just says otherwise. I think reality states that, even having to deal with, my brother coming out and being gay sort of thing. I mean, I think growing up and being around him and stuff, I think you could see how he's living his life. So you might have some assumptions, but you don't necessarily know, right? And there may be people in life that really have no idea that their sibling or somebody that they know may be gay or lesbian or of another sexual orientation. So the idea of them just coming out, it just feels more natural to me than people saying like, oh, this blindsided us sort of thing. I just don't think that's how reality works. You know what I mean? So I do love the fact that Dino Fury's taking the initiative. This definitely was long overdue, but I think the fact that they're aware that this is the time to go ahead and pull the trigger, I think it was smart. It was certainly smart on them. There's always going to be pushback. You're never going to satisfy people, but I think the action of doing it far exceeds the negativity that you'll certainly get from it. It wouldn't surprise me if this garners more eyes on the Power Ranger Kid TV show, and even what Power Rangers has in the future when it reboots and reimagines itself here, hopefully within the next year or two. So great move, I think, personally, from Dino Fury, but not everybody agrees, unfortunately.
Yeah. And one last thing I'll say about it is I do think the seeds were planted early on, especially even in her first appearance when she decided, skirts aren't really my thing. Like, to me, I felt that like that planted the seeds very early on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can definitely, and not to say that every girl that's tomboyish
that's not what I'm saying.
I mean, it does at least put in the mentality that this is not your ordinary, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just your average day, everyday Power Ranger girl that you've known for the past 20 plus years, right? Like, there is something significantly different about how she handles herself. And I just don't know if people are ready for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people felt some type of way about the idea of ripping a skirt. I think people feel also some type of way about Izzy's personality sometimes, right? The fact that she's not always the smiling and happy-go-lucky. Like, she does give the side eyes and she does have her sassy responses, sort of thing, right? Doesn't necessarily live up to a Power Ranger good girl type of thing. So yeah, I definitely do think that they've made Izzy such a unique character this season to really take some chances with her. And so I'm glad that they are. I'm glad that they are. When do you think brand new episodes of Dino Fury will be released for US? I know some countries are about to air them. So yes, in France and UK, Dino Fury has returned with new episodes. Here in the States, September 18th on Nickelodeon, Dino Fury does return. They will be starting with episode 9, though. So we have seen episodes 9, 10, and 11, which are technically already on Netflix. So if you want to go ahead and check them out, you certainly can. But since Nickelodeon's coming back from hiatus on September 18th, they're going to be picking up where they left off at. So episodes 9, 10, and 11 will be playing week after week beginning September 18th. So that kind of lines up for a new episode in episode 12 being October 9th. So go ahead and mark your calendars there. But Dino Fury will be returning to Nickelodeon September 18th, and we'll go from there. With the new Matrix 4 movie coming out, what do you want to see that's new and better than the first 3 films? And do you think it will be part of its already established legacy? And then there's also a B to that. So I think we're both very much on the assumption that it will be part of the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of this trailer. Anything new that you want to see come out of this movie?
I mean, they said that okay, I don't know how they would do this, all right, but I want this movie's action to make me feel the same way I felt in the first movie when I watched it for the first time. I don't know if that can be done, if I'm asking for way too much, because that is a really tall order. And the fact that I don't even know how you could do that to like really blow my mind the same way that you did with the first movie with the new techniques that you that they introduced. But if they find a way to do that, I'm all for it. And I would love to see like what new ways they could totally like kind of blow our minds with fighting techniques, like show us like kind of new things that no one ever thought you could do with a camera before. Like, I'd love to see if they have anything like that in Matrix 4.
Maybe they could have the characters come out of the movie screen and be like holograms in front of the screen while we're watching it. No, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but yeah, hopefully they push the envelope technology wise in some way or another. I think that would be pretty cool to see. And do you think Cobra Kai being renewed for a 5th season and a new deal will make fans think it's milking itself? Or are you confident as long as they keep up with its formula and episode count of 13? I do think that I do feel confident. I am surprised. I don't want to say I'm surprised that there's a 5th season, but when you look at like the teaser trailer for the 4th season and stuff, and you see that they're going back to like tournament things, like when I think of tournament, I think conclusion, right? Like a final definitive, who's going to win this tournament sort of thing. So I get it. But if you stick to another season, same formula, 13 episodes, not very long. You know, these episodes aren't like 45 minutes, hour-long episodes. I think they can tell the story that they certainly want to tell. I don't think it hinders it. Now, if you were to tell me it's a 5th season and 21 plus episodes, 45 minutes, I'm like, yeah, dude, we definitely are a jumping the shark here. But I think there's plenty of story to certainly tell. I mean, I think there's more of Miyagi's legacy that they can certainly bring to the fold, right? We talked about Hilary Swank. Who knows? Maybe that's where Hilary Swank comes in for season 5. Maybe she's not in season 4. Who certainly knows? Maybe there's a Jaden Smith appearance in here somewhere, for all we know. Also, so I do think that there is plenty to certainly do. And Cobra Kai is so popular on Netflix. It doesn't surprise me that it's coming back for a 5th season at all. So I don't look at this as them milking it. Do you, Stuart?
Really, it's all going to depend on how season 4 plays out. Because it could be that season 4 has a big enough story that needs to continue with another season. But I don't know if season 4 feels like it's meant to be a conclusion, but then like we get like another season afterwards, then I'm going to agree with the idea that it might be milking it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how the 4th season winds up going. But yeah, we'll definitely see. All right. I think other than that, guys, I think that's actually going to do it for all of our live viewer questions. I am curious if there's any comments that we might have missed that we want to tackle real quick. Let me see. Marcelino did say, going back to the animated Aquaman, he says the art style looks just as bad as Thundercats Roar. I think I was calling it Thundercats Go, mixing it up with Teen Titans. But yeah, Thundercats Roar, that's what it definitely reminds me of. I'm just hoping that the storytelling is significantly better.
So I do kind of disagree with this comment. Basically saying the problem with the Batwoman or Batgirl movie is that she doesn't have her own like comic book storyline unless you include the Killing Joke, which there actually are plenty like of Batgirl solo runs where she does have like her own kind of solo stories. Like I'm not going to claim that I've read them because I actually have never read any Batgirl like solo comic books, but you know, most of the Batgirl I read is when she has like her occasional cameo. Like I believe she had a cameo in like the Jeff Johns run of Teen Titans, and then of course like in the Rebirth storylines, I've really liked what they've been doing with her in the early stages of DC Rebirth. So there's definitely plenty of stories that they can choose from. Plus, like on top of that, with it being an adaptation, I feel like you could do a similar thing to the Killing Joke. In fact, like originally when I had my idea for a Batgirl movie, it was going to be kind of a weird mixture of like the Killing Joke meets Spider-Man Homecoming. As weird as that combination sounds, it actually worked really well in my head. So yeah, like I do think you could take like different storylines, put them together, and then just make a really good original movie. So I think there are, and like, again, I haven't actually read any of the solo Batgirl comic books, but I'm pretty sure if you read some of them, there are going to be some where you're like, oh, that's actually a good enough story to make a movie on its own,
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if even if it's not a big blockbuster story in the comics, it wouldn't surprise me if they do take one or two things from maybe some really good Batgirl runs and maybe incorporate it into the script itself. But yeah, to that, I don't necessarily think you need a big Batgirl story in the comics in order to adapt. I mean, I think the idea of, even when we are adapting stuff these days, majority of the adaptation is pretty loose. It's the actual premise of it, but maybe they change other aspects of the story. So for me, I'm perfectly okay with the idea of a Batgirl not really pulling from the series too much. Again, maybe just tidbits here and there about her personality or characters that we've seen in the series. But I think just tackling it as an original script, an original story, I think can go just as far of a way for sure. Nathan Moore, going back to Andrew and Toby, they're in it. Nathan fully believes that they're definitely in it. And Datilla does say, I wonder if this means William Dafoe will be returning as Green Goblin. I mean, look, we got the tease in the trailer, right? The little pumpkin ball. Whether or not that's James Franco, William Dafoe, the guy that plays Ned. There's some people saying that's why Ned got into such great shape, so he can be like a hobgoblin or something like that, a different version of that character. So who knows? Do you think William Dafoe is going to pop up in here, Stuart?
Well, my big theory on how the movie's going to play out is we're going to be led to believe that he's the main villain, but at the very end of the movie, we're going to get the reveal that it turns out to be Ned. It's going to My thought is it's going to be Ned from Tobey Maguire's universe, but it's still going to be played by the same actor, and that'll be the main reason why he lost a lot of weight, was for that particular role, for like an evil version of Ned. So you'll still have the best friend Ned of Spider-Man. Like, he's not going to turn evil. Like, that guy will stay good, but you can still have the evil Hobgoblin Ned as well. And I think it'd be like one of those things where it would almost be a punch in the gut to a lot of Spider-Man fans who expected Willem Dafoe, but I think it would be like a punch in the gut in a good way. I think it'd be like the perfect subversion of expectations.
I get you. I get you. Yeah, I don't know if I still want William Dafoe in here or not. I mean, we have seen characters return to reprise their roles. We don't have a Norman Osborn in the MCU as of yet. I mean, maybe William Dafoe does pop back up as Norman Osborn, but maybe he's not necessarily in the role of Green Goblin this time around. I'm really not quite sure, but it's going to be fun, regardless, to certainly say the least. But I'm definitely pumped for it. All right, guys. I think other than that, that's going to do it for all of our live viewer questions and comments today. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly coming through as we tackle all of this news to go ahead and make sure that you guys are certainly caught up at the end of the week. But we certainly will be back next week, so certainly look out for that. I will say this, if anything, I do have a convention next week. We've got Dallas Fan Expo that's going to be out here running from the 17th through the 19th. So actually, if we do have a show next week, it'll probably be hosted and navigated by Indy along with Stuart for you guys. So definitely look forward to that. If anything, I probably will not be a part of this the broadcast next week, just because I will be doing some coverage. So if anything, we'll be able to provide you guys. I think they're going to be having some great Q&A panels there, which I'm going to be recording for you guys. We'll probably put some highlight videos up for you guys. If anything, the patron will have the entire Q&A panels made available for them. So if you are a supporter of the Patreon, that's where you'll be able to get the full length panels. But if anything, we'll put up maybe like a 10-minute highlight video for you guys in regards to all the coverage that we're definitely going to be providing for you guys next weekend. So it should be great to be back out in conventions. But before we go, Stuart, if people want to go ahead and reach out to you on social media, sir, where can they find you?
You guys can, of course, find me here at TurboStew01 over on Twitter. And, of course, you guys can follow my Stargirl reviews here on A+ Hero Report. Okay, so this time I will 100%, 110% for sure have the episode out that Wednesday, rather than what I had been doing in the past, which is having them released on the following Thursday just because of my really bad internet. I have finally gotten that fixed. Kind of. It's not a full fix, but it's like a temporary solution. All I have to do is take my computer, move it all the way to the living room to upload the video, and then move it back to my bedroom afterwards. So
lovely.
Slightly annoying process, but it will work. It is a temporary solution until I can figure out if whether or not I should get a giant Ethernet cord or get better Wi-Fi extenders.
I believe in you, Stuart. I think you'll be able to do it. You'll be good. All right, guys. But other than that, listen, if you guys want to follow us here on A+ Hero Report, feel free to certainly subscribe to our channel if you're checking us out over on our YouTube page. If you're over on Facebook, definitely go ahead and give us a like. Certainly go ahead and start following us there on our Facebook page. That's where we post all of our news and content throughout the week for you guys. So if you want to follow us, you can follow us right up here at A+ Opinions. Very active over on Twitter, along with our main Facebook page. And you can also catch us over on Instagram as well, ladies and gentlemen. But until then, that'll be it for us here. So we'll certainly see you guys next weekend. And we got a couple of other reviews headed to your guys' way throughout the week. Supergirl, Stargirl, Heels, Titans, all that coming your way this week as well. So certainly look out for that. But until next time, do us a big favor, guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And as always, keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye. If you enjoy our content and want to be a part of helping our channel grow, become a patron supporter. We have affordable tiers to choose from that offer a variety of exclusive and early access content, from audio files for all of our shows for you to enjoy on the road, access to our Discord community, and plenty of reactions, reviews, character breakdowns, and more. Check us out at patreon.com/A+opinions. And as always, remember, like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so anytime we drop a brand new video, you will be notified.